Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the show today. Very happy to have you here with us. We've come and we've had some of these creatives, these ones that are doing the TV shows and movies, come out and say, "Wow, the best way we can get revenge on you, damn cis, whatever that means, people, is by making your favorite character gay." Yay!
Yep.
At least they're admitting it now, Thundera. How you doing, by the way?
I'm splendid. How is Mr. Chester?
I'm busy. Yeah,
Busy? Knock it off.
I
See?
know.
See how easy that was?
That no. I I saw this. My wife likes the Tyler Zed. We were
Okay.
watching his "Don't Laugh or Lose" thing, and he always has these clips on there of people trying to find creative ways to get out of work. And I was thinking to
Mm,
myself, I've never even taken a day off from work in my life.
not a single one, huh?
No, you know,
Interesting.
I feel like I'm missing out on something. Oh well, it is what it
Well,
is.
you are a little bit, I would say, Chester. But at least you work for yourself. So
It's
there's
true.
that.
That is true.
Yeah. If
I
you
had
worked for
some.
somebody else and you were like that, I'd say you're stupid. But since it's your own stuff, makes sense.
Yeah, well, the only person I have the answer to is, you know, me.
Well, and your wife.
Well, that's true. That's
She
true.
wouldn't be very happy if you just decided to be a beach bum, I don't think.
Hey, I could do it for about 2 weeks.
You'd be miserable.
I would be.
Miserable.
Um, I had an
I wouldn't.
interesting. I had
I
an.
would love it.
No, I couldn't do it. Uh, I did have an eventful morning though. Do
Uh-oh.
the dynamite right, and
Yep.
had a pretty big load on the vehicle today, half ton, and going up and heard some rattling we did, so we stopped and went and looked around, checked the tires. It seemed okay. I drove another couple of miles and boom, big old blowout, right?
Excellent.
No big deal. I pull over on the side and change the tire and such like that. But I've never in my life changed the tire on a dually van. I understood. I'm not exaggerating what I just said. A dually
Mm.
van that had half a ton
Yep.
of dynamite on it.
Interesting.
Yeah. And I think those tires had not been removed for about, ooh, I don't know, 15 years. You can't kick the tire because, jack. But
Hmm.
I had to kind of lever my arm, use my arm as a lever to kind of get it to pop. That was fun.
Yep.
Uh,
Oh,
You know,
it's not though.
no, not really.
No,
But
not at all.
but I mean,
Um.
it took me a long time too. It was a
So
good
how big
20
are the
minutes.
vans over there? You got it's a dually van.
It's a
Is it
dually van.
like is it like a full size American sized utility
Well, it's a
van,
one
or is it
ton.
one of them?
It's a 1 ton
Yeah, it's
van.
pretty good size then. Yeah, I
Yeah,
didn't know they
for
had vehicles that big over there.
Oh, they do. They got even bigger ones. But for what we do, this is fine because we have
Interesting.
to take the dynamite through a very narrow path to get into the bunker storage area. So you can't be
Right.
too wide. You have to be able to get through that gap. But
Gotcha.
it carries 1 ton, which is plenty for what we need. And it's no big deal. I mean, we've all changed a tire. But
Well, yes, I have, but you say we as in it's a common ability nowadays, and
isn't it?
unfortunately, that's just true. No, no, unfortunately, there are people who are very inept. They can't change a tire. They have no idea how to change their oil. Like I don't change my own oil. I know how to change my own oil, but I would it's for $40, $50. I'll just pay somebody else to do it. Um, yeah, but yeah, that's where we're at in the West anyway. I don't know how it is in Japan with their car cultures like, but there are a lot of people over here who are completely flummoxed at the idea of changing a tire.
Yeah, no, I think most Japanese have never changed a tire. It was my point, though. It's a pretty easy thing to do. That's not
Yeah.
the point. The point was I've never done it with a fully loaded dynamite truck. That was the
Yes.
different thing, you know. Hey, we got Jimmy Ortiz in here. How you doing, Jimmy? He says, Hello, all you wonderful people. They are wonderful. His
Oh,
wife, she runs the house. Well, what wife doesn't?
yeah.
Better late than never. There are people with, uh, what is this? Man buns. They'd never change a tire. Really? I mean, it's a pretty standard skill, I thought. I mean, you drive
Well,
cars, they get flat tires. It happens.
one of the things I'm grateful for is I went to a very, very small school, very small high school. But one day the principal had one of people that he knew. He owned a body shop, and he was my dad at the time my father's best friend.
Hmm.
And he came. His name was Fred, and old Fred taught us how to do all of that stuff. If he didn't know, so he took the both boys and girls took the class out there, showed them how to change a tire, showed them how
Hmm.
to check their oil, showed them where didn't change oil, but showed us basically what needed to be done in case you ever needed to do it.
Hmm.
Uh, it's really not that complicated, but you would be absolutely flummoxed how many people are completely flummoxed by it. I remember one time I was putting on my old car, we had a donut, because every once in a while, you just got to get something wrong with your tire. And I was putting it on out in my driveway, and I didn't have the jack stable in the driveway.
Oh
And I
yeah.
didn't realize that until I got the weight on it and it came crashing down. And luckily, I'm incredibly flexible and I had my legs spread. Because if I was a normal person without my flexibility, I would have probably crushed my legs. But I was okay. And I jacked it back up and it was fine. But yeah, no, it is a skill, especially that car was an old Ford Focus, and it had that weird bottom where it's got that bottom plate and everything. I
Hmm.
don't like that. So it was hard. Yet it was difficult to find actually a support, right, without getting up too close to the wheel. So every now and again, you'd have to fight with it a little bit. I just didn't get it right that day, and almost lost a leg, pretty much. If I hadn't been sitting the way I was sitting, I would have one of my legs would have definitely got crushed.
Well, luckily, knock wood, I've never dropped the jack.
Yeah,
But then again, it's not like I do it tons of times anyway.
right.
Jiminy says, "Bro, there are people who don't know how to jump a car, dude."
That's correct.
I saw this the other day. There was some dumbass girls that were trying to, and they had the cables, and of course they put the red on the black and the black on the red, and then melted the cables. And
Yep.
I'm like, how are you this dumb? It says positive and negative right on it, and the terminals as well. They're even color coded.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, are you
And
kidding me? And they just sat there and watched it melt. And I'm like,
did
you
Ah.
don't think maybe you
The
should
worst
take
part
that
about
off?
that for me is always whenever you're doing it and there's a little bit more juice than you were expecting and you get that little spark. And every time it's like, it gets you every time. It's not going to hurt you really, but it's enough to make you jump because you're not expecting it. But yeah, no, it's pretty standard skill set. I remember, I think I've told this story before, but one time my wife was traveling with some friends, tire blew out, and she just got down there and changed it. And they were completely, just in awe of the fact that she knew how to do it.
It's
And I'm
not
just like,
hard.
it's very simple, very simple. It does. I mean,
Well,
for a woman, it can be hard to get the bolts off, sure,
a little
or get
bit,
the
but just
off.
use your weight. Yeah.
Yeah, just stand on the damn thing;
Yeah,
it'll
yeah.
come off. Uh, but yeah, no, you would be surprised at how incompetent
Yeah.
the everyday
I
American is now.
Well, I did see a video where there was a lady that was putting her weight on it, but she was righty tightying it and not lefty loosening it. And I'm like, that's we have that, lefty righty tighty, lefty loosey for a reason to remember it.
Yep,
Um, but I'm probably a little bit older than you when it comes to sparking because I come from a
yep.
generation where you could take a wrench and cross the two up off
Oh
the
yeah.
solenoid and just
No,
start the
I've been
car.
playing with electricity most of my life. I mean, my family used to own and operate an appliance repair shop. So it's not that am not used to it. I've even willingly taken a whole full outlet voltage just because we were stupid and we would do that.
Roger
Uh,
that. No. Huh.
but it's just every time for whatever reason, every time I would do it and there'd be that little jolt, it would maybe, yeah, just enough to make me, not like, throw my hands in the
No,
air,
I
but
get it.
enough
I
to make
get
you
it.
go,
The shock of it. Yeah, Roger says he doesn't know how to change a tire either. But I used to. I worked at a gas station as a teenager, and I used to do tires.
yeah.
Put new tires on the rims and air them up and balance them and stuff. But those
Oh,
that's easy though. They got those great equipment at the garages. Yeah.
yeah. Try doing that without that
No,
puller.
I
Oh,
wouldn't want to. I did it with bicycles, and that's enough frustration.
yeah.
So after
No,
watching
that's
a
misery.
car block on Sundays on TV for two
I
years.
used to do it on when I was working with a landscaping company. They didn't have the puller, and they had field mowers, so they had tires on them, and sometimes you'd have to just sit there and hammer it
Yeah, now
until you
soap does
pull that
help. Yeah,
sucker off.
yeah.
That sucks,
No,
but
I get what you're saying there, Roger. But and I do love those shows. But no, I grew up in an age where you did these things and you worked on
yeah.
cars. It's just different back then.
I grew up in the country, so
Yeah,
everybody worked on
farms and
cars.
stuff like that.
Yeah,
Jimmy says, "See what happened is that when Chester and I went to high school, yep, back in the prehistoric days, they taught us to change the oil, change tires, and do simple maintenance. Yeah, they did. They did. I
yeah.
mean, I'd already kind of had my uncles and dad teach me anyway, but they did teach us. They taught us how they actually gave us in class, remember, checkbooks, bank balance books, and we would
Yep.
have tests on how to balance your bank account. Useful things.
The high school I went to, see, my high school was a very small private school that my parents' church started. So I
Oh,
knew everybody. Like it was very small. Um, and one of the classes that they had in my senior year was they called it a business math class, and basically the idea was to teach you how to balance a ledger and how to manage if you were ever to manage a business, how to manage a business and do all that stuff and the base the mathematics behind it because a lot of people don't realize this. They get mad at their boss and stuff, and sometimes rightfully so, but being an owner operator is incredibly difficult. My family did it for years. I watched both my grandfather and my father do it. It takes an unbelievable amount of skills. You don't have to be great at all of them, but you have to be proficient at all of them.
sure.
And one of those skills is mathematics, monetary mathematics. You have to be able to balance a ledger.
Hmm.
Uh, and not everybody can do that, believe it or not. And it
It's pretty
takes,
easy.
takes a little bit of time, a little bit of skill.
It
Well, it
takes
starts to get
time.
harder when you deal with all the nonsense taxes and the different percentages, especially if you're selling something retail, which we did. You have to deal with sales tax. You have to deal with this, and then sometimes, like Ohio, isn't as bad as some places, but since we're right by Michigan, we would go into Michigan. Sometimes the sales tax was different depending on what we were doing in which county. Like just annoying stuff like that. Most of the headache comes from dealing with the government. To be honest, in business, it's just your customers usually aren't that big a deal. They're usually happy to have your service if you're any good at it. It's dealing with the government that's
Mm,
always the big headache, especially if you're the more bureaucratic the area and the more bureaucratic the industry, the worse it obviously is. But it was nice because they taught us all sorts of stuff: how to balance a ledger, how to do a time card, how to keep track of all that stuff, and like we ran
sure.
little projects where we had to basically run our own business, right? Fake it basically, and turn that stuff in. I actually got out of that class my senior year. I went through about halfway, but then I was like, you know what? Can I drop this? Because I literally already know how to do all of this because my parents' business, and I'm working because at the time I don't know if they had this when you guys were in school, but in Ohio anyway, they have this program where seniors can go half a day
Yeah.
if they have enough credits, so they can go work. So that's what
Yeah.
I did
No, we
because
had
I just
that.
went to
Yeah.
work. Yeah, and I had more. I could have graduated 2 years early, except I had to take 4 years of English. If I wouldn't have had to take 4 years of English, I could have graduated my sophomore year. I had enough credits, but it's what it is, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So
Well,
basically, my senior year, the first half, I went the whole day, and I was like, "Can I not? I'd much rather go work." And they're like, "Yeah, that's fine." So the second half of the year, I went and only really it was a Christian school, so I had to take Bible I had to take that. So I would go until basically lunch. Bible was in the morning and English was in the morning, and then I could just leave, go to work. It was
yeah.
great.
No, well, yeah, no, we did. I worked in the nighttime, so I didn't do that. But Um, I actually remember the whole because we did it. It was through home economics, and they took us
Yep.
down to auto shop, which I didn't do auto shop or wood shop, but went down to auto shop, and the teacher there did the oil and changing the tire and all that kind of stuff. That it was
Mhm.
pretty standard. I do remember the car. It was a powder blue Lincoln, an
Ooh,
old one
Lincoln.
and Lincoln, big old boat of a thing, which is I
Oh yeah.
think he did it intentionally to scare you. And it had one of those old bottle jacks,
Oh yeah.
right? And
Oh yeah.
I remember that very clearly, and everybody had to take their turn at it and stuff.
Yep. Yeah. No, it's crazy to me how basic skills just get lost. It's. I remember when I was younger, I didn't understand how when I started to like research technology over since forever, how the things like dark ages could happen. How do you just forget how to do stuff? How do we forget how to build aqueducts? And how do we forget how to do this and that, whatever? I get it now. People literally just
Yeah,
don't learn it when they're
yeah,
younger, and that's it. It's gone.
yeah.
That
All
knowledge
you need is a
is gone.
generation or two. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
true.
and it's just gone.
Yeah,
And that's one of the reasons why I found this out when I was doing that research. The main reason that we continuously build new aircraft carriers, not because we need them, it's because if we stop, they'll forget how to do it.
maybe,
Literally.
maybe.
So they just keep doing it
Yeah. I
just to make sure.
remember. No, we had auto mechanics badge in Boy Scouts too. Had to do
Uh-huh.
it over there as well. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
I used to be a big proponent of Boy Scouts. I think it's very valuable. But these days they've ruined it. So just like everything else, we're going to talk about that a little bit about today about the intention. If you
Oh yeah.
see the title of today's show, it is Night Owls on Spite.
Spite. I
Yeah, and
love it.
there's a lot of that. And there's a lot of things going on that is they're now starting to say openly. They're so emboldened that they're saying openly that yeah, we're trying to ruin your stuff. We're intentionally making your characters gay and stupid because we want to insult you. We know we won't have success. We know we won't make money. So we're just going to destroy the things you love and we're going to laugh while doing it. And we've been saying
Okay.
this for years here, but they're starting to openly admit it now.
Here's the problem. Um, good.
Yeah,
No,
whatever.
no. Listen, it's far better for you, for everybody involved, for you to drop your mask and show us the ugly that is you. Stop hiding behind these smiling faces, if you will, um, and let the world see what you really are. Because we already see, like, there's people out here who refuse to take a W. They've been taking L's for so long, they don't know how to take a win. They just can't comprehend that they've won. We've won. The anti woke, whatever you want to call it, whatever you want to call it, that movement, anti PC is a better version name for it, has largely won the culture war in the main, even in the mainstream. And now people will argue with you and argue, no way, it's not true, it's not true. Okay, name me one project, just one, in the last 2 years that was labeled as woke and it stuck. The label stuck, right? That wasn't already an established brand or didn't already have like a sequel or something like that that succeeded. Anything,
Oh
video
no,
game,
they've been bombing
any
hard.
TV show, movie, anything,
Yep.
comic book. As soon as the branding of, as soon as you get branded as woke, whatever that means, it could mean a million different things. As soon as that sticks, your project is basically done. It's dead in the
Oh yeah.
water. As soon as you
Yeah.
start doing the nonsense where you attack the core audience for some reason, uh, you're done. It
Well,
doesn't
even if
work.
it's perceived. Yeah.
Yes.
Like Furiosa, I think it is.
Yep.
Frank is something Miller, George Miller.
George.
But it doesn't sound like it's actually woke at all. But it's
Yeah.
just well, first of all, I quit calling it Max because I want Max. I don't want some wall-eyed girl.
Yes.
But people
Who I
just are
actually
like,
like. I like Anna Taylor-Joy a
I
lot,
don't.
but
But I
she
mean,
doesn't make any sense. I mean, as an actress, she doesn't make any sense in an action role. What are we
no, she
doing?
doesn't. But
She weighs
whatever.
100 pounds.
It's just perceived. People like, yeah, I want Max. I don't want a woman thing, and they see it that way. And of course, it bombed
That's right.
this weekend, completely bombed
Yep.
on a Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah,
And
it's crazy.
Jimmy, I see how the English language has failed you.
uh, But no,
Yeah.
it's a lot of people don't want to take the W because they still see all the institutional wokeness, quote unquote. And it's true, it's all still there. But that stuff, it didn't just happen overnight, guys. They didn't just walk in and be like, "Yep, we're in charge now. Screw you." They won the culture first, and they had dominated culture through mostly fear and intimidation, to be honest, for so long that it was actually kind of easy to get all of the other institutions. The old saying from, I believe it was Mr. Breitbart, I'm sure he got it from somebody else, is politics is downstream from culture. If you want to change things, you have to change the culture first.
Well,
It doesn't matter if you have a perfect government system, a jurisprudence system, a perfect legal system. If the culture of the people is tyranny, you will have tyranny. Period.
mhm.
And
Well,
now that the
Thomas
culture
Jefferson
is,
said that,
yes,
and
now that
he
the
said
culture
it
is
whilst
becoming freer,
quoting Octavian.
yeah, I know. While the culture is becoming freer and more of the idea of let people speak their mind for the most part. There's still taboos and there always will be, but I think it's a lot less restrictive than it was a few years ago. I don't think anybody could debate that. At least not honestly. That will start to change too, and you're already starting to see it. The cancel pigs, as certain people like to call them, largely don't have the power they once did. Depending on what it is, there's still certain levels you can't, touch. Holocaust denial is probably a big one. Calling somebody the old nasty N word is a big one too. But for the most part, the other battles have been won. And I personally would rather live in a world where everybody's just honest and they just say what they mean and we don't persecute them for it because I just think
Narcissistic,
that's yeah, that's the
nihilistic,
only nihilistic. That's the only
nincompoop,
real yeah, it's God.
Nimrod.
It's the only real way to have true freedom.
Mhm.
Is this idea that free speech but with consequences? Well, then it isn't free speech. That's not free speech. If you don't want free speech, cool, just say that. That's fine.
Well, they
But
are
stop
saying that.
pretending you
They
want
are
free
saying that.
speech if you want consequences for your. That's not free speech then. If I can't walk up to you and say, "Hey, you're a piece of shit," without getting my life ruined, that isn't free speech. Period.
Well,
Like I don't care what you want to call it.
well, I agree. Although, if you say, "Hey, everybody, get together, kill this guy," and they kill
Yeah,
that guy,
that's a direct incitement for threat and violence.
yeah,
That shouldn't be
a
covered
little
on.
bit different. Yeah.
But the problem is then the lefties will come in and twist. Well, he said racism. That's an incitement to violence. Just shut up. Just
Is it?
shut up, you soft pieces of shit.
Yeah.
You've never, probably most of you've never even seen real violence. You would wilt and wither like an old fruit
Alan
if you
has
saw it.
labeled us nerds
Well, it's. I mean,
in the
it's apt.
in the voice of ogre, by the way.
But no, it's. I just think that a lot of people don't want to take W's because with the worst addiction in the world, in all of human history, is not an illicit substance. It's not alcohol. It's not sex. It's not even power. It's misery. People are addicted to being miserable. That's why they can't
Mhm.
get out. That's why they look for things that'll continuously make them miserable. They know what they're doing.
Oh
Say you're
yeah.
really fat and you
No,
want to
they
lose
they
weight, and
need
then you just eat a bunch of cake. Like, what are you doing? You know that's going to make you feel bad, but you do it anyway because you're addicted to it.
they are. They're
You're,
addicted to the victimhood. That is certainly true. Um, yeah, yeah. It's kind of a funny thing with that. With this victimhood and such. Uh, they're constantly trying to antagonize, but at the same time, they are this forever victim. And
that's right.
those things don't usually go together. You can't be a person who antagonizes and also be the victim, right?
Cry bullies.
They're cry bullies, is what they are. Yeah,
Yeah, no, it's disgusting, repugnant behavior.
it is.
And then these same people will wonder why. Well, why do you people like Donald Trump? Because he's just a regular bully. That's why. He's at least honest with his bullying. He's gonna bully the shit out of people. He's
Hmm.
gonna call them names. He's gonna talk down to them and da 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 da. But at least he's not gonna turn around and play victim for his
You
for
see
his
how
for
many
his
people
bullying.
showed up in the Bronx for him?
I did. I did.
Wow.
I
Ah,
well, it unfortunately, as awesome as that is, they're just going to cheat again. There's nothing to stop them until the
no,
American
it's true.
people are willing to use their Second Amendment for what it's intended for and stop heming and hawing about it, and at least be able to make the damn threat of using it for what it's intended for. Even if you never do it, they're just going to keep doing what they want.
Oh no, that's
Period.
true. Yeah. It's true. But I mean, unfortunately, I mean, look what has transpired because they did steal that election. Like I
Yeah.
said, I've always said that it shouldn't have been that close. The fact that it was that close was a mistake. But look at the state of things. Look at the
Yeah.
state of things. I mean, I wouldn't have imagined it was this bad so quickly. It's just insane. And you got greater problems, like for instance, with what's going on, say in Ukraine, or what's going on in Afghanistan, not Afghanistan, in Israel, in Gaza.
Mm,
The simple fact of the matter is, if Trump was in, those things would not have happened. That's not hyperbole.
mm.
Russia, I mean, Putin would have not have pulled that trigger. He might have
Plus, we also
protested and got
know.
some negotiation through Trump, which
Look,
maybe would
look,
have
there's
worked.
a lot of reasons to criticize Trump's policies. I do it all the time, but the best policies he had were for his foreign
Oh, he was
policies
good on it. He was really good.
were
Because,
exceptional because he
well,
understands that liberals don't understand that the rest of the world doesn't think like them. The rest of the world thinks like a bunch of bullies. They're just bullies. Period. Trump gets that because he's one too.
yeah.
Now, I think he's a mostly benevolent bully, but he understands the mindset.
Oh,
So
I
he
know.
understands that you can't kowtow and play all nice. They're just going to think you're stupid. They're just going to think you're stupid. That's
Yeah.
it. They're going to think you're stupid and weak for smiling at them while they
Yeah.
shit all over you.
And, the thing with liberals that they don't get about Trump, and they're like, oh, he's not a badass. He's not this and that. And it's like, no, he's not. You're right. Trump is not
Exactly.
going to
Yeah.
sit there and threaten people. He's not going to do it at all. He's going to say,
Yeah.
hey, I told you not to do it. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to let my military dudes do what they do.
Yep.
And that's what he does. He just lets the arm, and that's the most terrifying thing, to allow the military to be military. Watch
Yep.
out, dude.
Militant.
Well, I'm just saying. I mean, that's the threat of Trump. It's not that
Yeah.
he's going to hammer you personally. He's just going to get out of the way and let the military deal with you without any
Right.
handcuffs on them. That is terrifying. And they
Well,
know
he
it.
also understands enough history. You can't tell me this man hasn't studied history, especially tactics and strategy. So you don't get to the level of success he was at in the market he did it in without understanding
Mhm.
strategy and tactics. This is not possible.
Well,
You
we
can't
got
oops your way into being the top of that market.
Trump's going to come up in today's conversations quite a bit, so let's hold on to that a little bit.
Yep.
Jimmy says, Chester, how far are you from Tokyo? Oh, a few hours drive, maybe 5 hours, maybe 4 hours. Not so far. Why?
Yep.
I haven't
Yep.
been. I want to go. It's on my list. I
You
just
say
went to
Tokyo
the
or
last
Kyoto?
city of Kyushu a few weeks back, so I've been to every place in Kyushu now. I've been to some places in Honshu, where Kyoto
Do
is.
you
I
live
want
in
to.
Kyushu or do you live
I
in
live in Kyushu.
on the?
Yeah,
Okay, yeah.
yeah. But I definitely want to hit some of the Honshu places. I want to go to Hokkaido. I want to go to Shikoku. Uh, you know, and now that I'm getting a little bit older, and my kids are out and getting married and doing their stuff, I have more. Well, I don't really have much free time, but I'm going to make it. I keep saying that. But let's go ahead and jump into it because the
Sure.
topics I have today are actually on topic for what we're talking about. Let's start out with this right here. Speaking of spite.
1 second. I gotta pull it up. My Discord's decided it doesn't want to cooperate. And there it is. Woke Doctor Who. I'm not even going to try that nonsense. Loses another 400,000 viewers. The worst ratings of all time.
Now,
Whoops.
I want to get into this a little bit because I grew up loving Doctor Who, right?
Yeah.
And Jimmy's like my age. I'm sure he loved Doctor Who as well. And oh, I see. He says there's a local watchmaker there, makes nice watches. I do like watches. I just bought not too long ago, I guess Christmas time, I bought myself a brand new Orient. Uh, excuse me. I got it specifically. It's owned by Seiko, but it's made completely in one factory here in Japan. Everything, every single part of the watch is made in one house.
That's
Whereas
cool.
most watch companies, they'll have several people who make stuff and it comes into one area for assembly, right?
Suppliers, yeah.
But Orient isn't. It's made in a single house. But maybe I should bring my watch and with me when I go to Kyoto. Yeah, I like watches.
Watches, for anybody listening, watches, especially if you know which ones to get, are actually a good investment.
They
They
are.
don't lose their value if you take care of them, or if you at least don't abuse them. And you can. There's always going to be a market to resell them.
Hmm.
Always, even in recessions, they sell. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Well, I have two more watches on my list that I'm going to buy. I'm going to buy a dress watch. The one I
Yep.
have is kind of a universal daily. It works in any situation, but I want to buy a nice dress watch, and I'm also going to buy a dive watch, but mainly for work, right? A work watch.
Yep.
Yeah, Bambino
Okay.
is a nice dress watch from Orient. I got their Sun and Moon, and it was pretty good. I mean, Orient is a really well made watch, handmade, mechanical, automatics watch. I only paid $700 or something like that. It wasn't, it's
No,
not
it's not
like
bad.
it's not bad at all. Orient's a good company. I like them. Now
It's a Bambino.
it's not like a Rolex wouldn't be bad to own. They are good company, but they just got so exorbitant. It's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, yeah, they are. Well, and they're even, they're the one that all poor people know, right? They're like a mid-level watchmaker,
Oh,
Rolex.
right.
There's
No,
ones
not
that are
even.
just are yeah. There's ones
You can
that are
spend
just
$1 million on a watch, dude. Yeah.
yeah. It's outrageous, bro. I watched that Andrew Tate guy buy a $500,000 watch one time. I said, "Jeez,
Yeah.
five for a watch?" But
Yeah.
and then I understood. I came to understand. Oh, these are investments. These people get whole portfolios of watches, and then they can sell them, and
Yeah.
they keep their value very well. So yeah, it makes sense. That makes more sense because
Right.
500K for a watch is insanity.
No,
That's
I have a
insane.
I have a friend of mine here, local guy. He's it's a big company. He's a wealthy guy, and
Yep.
he has, I don't know, like 20 watches maybe.
Yep.
But he also has a collection of like 7 or 8 Lotuses. So
Nice.
yeah, yeah. I actually got to drive one. I never got to drive a Lotus before. Those things are light. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, talk about squirrely.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you get behind one of those and get on it, you feel like Senna all of a sudden. That guy was squirrely. He was always. I mean, when he died, was anyone really shocked?
No.
I mean, honestly, though, watch the way he drives. I mean, he's constantly on the edge of destruction, which is why he was badass and he was a champion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you got to
Uh,
be kind of back in
Kuo.
those
Oh,
kind
I
of
don't know
sports.
that one. I should check it out. Oh, it's a good
Kutigatwa,
option
I
of
think is
a
how you
tutor.
say this madness of a name here. Um,
Someone was trying to get me to buy a Tag Sour, but I didn't. Can you origami a lotus? You bet damn right you could. It's super squirrely. It was even.
well,
I'd
these
say
poor
it's more
people can learn.
squirrely than my Cobra. I used to own a Shelby Cobra back in the day,
Oh
and
yeah,
that thing just wanted your death.
yeah, yeah. That's
Yeah,
how you know it's what it's
good
made
car.
for.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway, let's get to the Nikuti Gatwa.
yeah.
Now, was he
That's a
born
good
with that name?
Scottish
You
name.
think,
There you go. Good Scottish name, Kutigatwa.
or is that his
Uh,
African name, his non-slave name?
I'd imagine he's actually from
Maybe.
either from or his parents were from England.
But anyway, let's get into this. So I got distracted by watches. Thanks, Jimmy.
That'll happen.
All right.
That'll happen.
But anyway, so now I grew up watching Doctor Who. I think a lot of people have seen Doctor Who, but I was quite a fan of it. I watched it religiously. Of course, I'm back in the Baker age, and he's still my favorite. But
Yep.
what is Doctor Who? One, he's a guy. He's a white guy, right?
Oh,
Well, no, 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 no,
That's problematic nowadays.
no, it's
Yep.
not. And what does he do? He's a pacifist,
Yep.
and he solves all his problems, often dealing with, cosmic level threats with his intellect and his charisma. And,
Yep.
let's add it for good measure, his good-hearted wholesomeness.
Right.
That's Doctor Who. That's the end of the conversation. Now, with this show, they are intentionally trying to destroy the character and insulting you every step of the way. And keep in mind, this guy and that the new gay, they don't want to use the master because they've got to use the master's son, who is a transsexual, of course. That's that
Yep.
orange haired freak you see on the thumbnails and stuff. And what are they doing? Inside the show, they're directly queering it up in the hardest way possible. But outside of it, when doing interviews, they're saying, "Hey, this isn't for you. We don't want you cis assholes around anymore. Just get the hell out. Don't let the door
Okay.
hit you in the ass when you're leaving, because for every
Mm,
one of you stupid conservatives that leave, we're going to get 5 awesome people who are here for the diversity." Of course, that's not
uh-huh.
true, as you can
How'd that
see.
work out?
And of
Oh,
course, the thing that they don't get is the fact that no one wants this crap,
nobody.
but they're delusional enough to think that they're going to have floods of people coming in for the diversity. And beyond the attempt to piss you off and attack you, which is what they're doing, um, they've forgotten along the way in amongst their protesting, because that's what they're doing. They're activists, right? They forgot to,
Right.
write a story.
Oh, whoops. Oopsie.
Oopsie.
That old chestnut. That
Yeah.
old chestnut of a television show kind of needs a storyline. That helps. That helps.
But they don't care about that because they're active.
Yeah.
They're being activists. They're protesting. It's representation time. You see,
That's right.
and
Yep.
the reason I mention this is because the Wheel of Time director came out and basically said, "Yeah, we can deal with you easy. We just make your favorite characters gay." Right? Literally, that's what they're doing. And in this one, they came out and said, this is the people directly involved, right? Saying, yeah, no,
Right.
we're creating this for other people. There are tons of them going to come in because they want their representation. And all you old fans, go away. Don't let the door hit you in the ass. Literally, they literally said this. So
Yep.
it's like, okay, all righty then.
Bye. See ya.
Yeah.
Have fun.
So we're down
Good
a
luck.
million viewers from last week to this week.
The unbelievable level of hubris and stupidity and just outright ignorance. Belligerent ignorance. Like ignorance is fine. Belligerent ignorance is not. Doctor Who became, especially in the last 20 years or so, up until very recently, it was a international success on a level it had not been before. It was all over the world. America was huge again. For the first time in a very long time, had a large audience in America, and all over the world it was. All over the world. Well, here's what libshits don't understand. They're a global super minority. The
Oh
vast
yeah.
majority of the world does not agree with their bullshit. It just doesn't. You don't have to like that fact if you don't. They don't care. They do not agree with whatever it is you're pushing when it comes to gay stuff or trans stuff or women empowerment, even. Like, the vast majority of the world is against your agenda.
Hmm.
100%.
And they know
China's
it.
against it. The communists in China think you're too much of communists for them, by the way.
Yeah.
The Indians are against it. All of the Middle East is against it. Pretty much all of the Philippines, the islands, Southeast Asia in general is against it.
Oh yeah.
Uh, Africa, by and large, is incredibly against it, especially the places that in Africa that actually have a little bit of money. They're deeply Christian or deeply Muslim places, and they have no time for it. Um, so, who are you selling this to exactly? Is my question. Do you really think that just being spiteful and hating the people who made who gave this show a 60-year legacy, the
Yeah.
fans,
Yeah.
these evil straight white people who gave this show all of their love and affection and energy and worshipped it for so long, Do you really think pissing them off? Where is this audience going to come from?
Well,
Where is this mystical audience going to just materialize and start watching from?
I don't
Where are they
think
at?
they really believe it. I think they're just enjoying breaking something and having a laugh at
Yeah,
us. I think
there.
that's their
Well,
main
here's the
thing.
problem
I
with
do
Doctor Who.
need
They
to.
already did
I do.
that.
They did, and they've been doing it for years. I need to address the chat. Just give me a
Uh
second
oh. Uh
here.
oh.
Alan, first of all, I don't think YouTube's going to appreciate you quoting Kuta Kente. And second, Jimmy, you stay the hell away from my chestnut.
But no, they killed this show for me during the second half of Matt Smith's run. I gave it more of a chance through the first season or so, give or take,
No,
of
no.
of uh, Capaldi. But they literally, the last showrunner, or no, two showrunners ago now, literally turned the Doctor into just a complete and utter cuck, complete and utter simp. That's all he was, and it wasn't even his show anymore. It was the whatever is Clara, that was her name. It was her show basically. And I was like, I don't want to watch the Clara show. I want to watch the Doctor.
Tennant was the last Doctor,
Yeah.
David
And
Tennant,
then
and he was great.
about halfway through Capaldi, it got so bad I just couldn't anymore. I couldn't stomach it anymore. So I turned it off. And then as soon as we found out that they were going to do a chick doctor, my wife and I, because we both loved it. She loves David Tennant. Uh, we were very much against that notion because we could see the writing on the wall. Right? People say, well, they established a no, they did all that just so they could get to the chick. That's why they did it. They made
Yeah,
it
no,
so
it
that
was all leading up. Yeah,
um,
that's true.
so that Time Lords could regenerate into other than white people just so they could get to the
Yep,
black guy. They did
Capaldi
all of
was just
this
a setup. That's all
intentionally.
he was.
Yes. And it's a shame because he was probably should have been the best. And I think he would have been if he was given a show to do in good faith, but he wasn't. He was set up, sabotaged from jump to fail. And that's basically what he did. And then the woman came in, and about half the audience tuned out and never turned it back on. I'm part of that half. I will not be watching this show ever again. My wife agrees with me. She also has no interest in watching Nurse Who. Um, it's not what we're here to do. We're here to watch the man known as the Doctor. Uh, they decided they didn't want to go that route anymore, so we decided to walk away from it. Then come to find out that during the chick doctor, they not only did they completely retcon the entire lore, all of it, they made the Doctor the original Time Lord, and in fact, the only reason Time Lords have their power that they do is because of him, which is a monstrous retcon, invalidated 50, 60 years of history in the storyline for and by the way, I say him. Oops. No, it was actually a black one. You see, the first Doctor was actually a black one. Just so we're clear. That's the canon now.
Right.
That's
No,
lore
that's
now.
because they just want to destroy it. Yeah.
Yes.
But I do like David Tennant. I enjoyed his run for a more kind of realistic Doctor. But Tom Baker's still my dude, though, dude. I love Tom Baker.
I personally of the Doctors that because I started watching it when it came back more because you have to remember in the '90s it didn't really exist when I was
It
growing up.
was pretty bad. Yeah.
And so I mean they literally canceled it for years. They just had the movies or whatever. So I really only got a chance to actually get into it when Eccleston came and revived it. And I loved Eccleston. I thought he was phenomenal. I think if he had actually enjoyed the role more, we could have got a little bit more from him, but he only did one season.
Well,
But I
it's too bad because I
thought he was
loved
great.
him as well. He was more of
Yeah,
a rough and modern. But then
yes,
we got David Tennant though, and he is really good at it.
he is. It's a shame that he decided to sell out as well and came back and did those three specials recently. Apparently, those are actually pretty decent. But then at the end of one of them, or near the end of one of them, they literally had a struggle session with him and two of the
No,
women.
it's exact.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's the only
yeah,
reason they brought him back was
yep,
literally have the struggles, and that's we're talking about the communist struggle session
yeah,
with him. So he was brought back simply so they could destroy, for most people, their favorite Doctor. David Tennant
that's right.
is for most people their favorite, and
Yeah. My wife's
I love
favorite.
what he did. But they brought him back intentionally to destroy that, to attack it, and he let them do that. He should have said, go to hell. I mean, do you really
Yep.
need money, David? Do you really?
As far as I'm concerned, for me personally, my headcanon, Doctor Who ended at the 50th anniversary with all of the doctors looking off into space trying to find Gallifrey. I'm fine
Yeah.
with that ending
Yeah,
for
I'm
them. I
fine with
think
that
that's a
too.
perfectly fine ending.
Yeah.
And
But
that episode, that special was great. We got Tom Baker to come back and be the caretaker, quote unquote, which was just a future version of the Doctor who looked like him.
right.
Uh, Fine, cool, awesome, love it,
Mhm.
love everything about it.
Yeah,
That's a great send off.
it is.
If they could have put the same amount of love and care into everything else as they did that special, that show would have still been the cultural force that it was 15 years ago. But they
Yeah.
decided to go a different way. We'll
And they
put it
did. And
gently.
and the thing you got to remember is they are intentionally trying to make you mad. Just let it
Yes.
go.
Yep. It's
I
over.
mean,
It's dead.
because if you get angry, you're letting them win because that's all they have. That's all they have is to make you angry. And we noticed
Yep.
that in this conversation, we never mentioned anything about this doctor being black. We
Nope.
didn't mention anything about that he is hyper flamboyant gay, right?
Nope.
None of that didn't even come into the conversation, did it?
Nope.
Yeah, because you don't
Nope.
need to even get that far. That's how bad it is.
Yep.
But yeah, it's just hate. It's just pure hate.
Just pure
Spite.
actual bigotry.
You
What
want some
their
more spite?
biggest.
You want some more?
Yeah, let's
I
get.
got
I
more
like
for you.
Spike.
I got, I
I'm a
got, I
big
got,
fan.
I got you covered, baby.
Taika Waititi. Taika Waititi. All right, Mr. Cohen, calm down.
David Cohen. Yeah.
And
Okay, David.
Jermaine Clement
Hmm.
teased their Time Bandits TV show an exclusive first look. See, here's the problem with Mr. Clement is for some reason he's attached to Mr. Cohen, and he's far more talented than Mr. Cohen is. It's not even close because he's the one who runs the What We Do in the Shadows show
Right.
on FX, and I love that show. And
Oh
that show's
no.
woke as hell, and I love that show. It's
No, we know
hilarious.
what David is. He's just a lecher that will do whatever he's told. Therefore, he gets opportunity. We get it.
Yes. Yep.
But this is kind of interesting what we going on here. Now, of course, those of you who don't know Time Bandits, we're talking about Terry Gilliam's 1981 fantastical classic, as they say here. I do
Yep.
love it. I actually own this movie, which I don't own a lot. Time
Except
Bandits
for
is
myself.
wonderful fun. It's got that great Terry Gilliam. Keep in mind, he's from Monty Python's Flying Circus, right?
Oh yeah.
Um, and he made Adventures of Baron Munchausen. Some of my favorite movies are Terry Gilliam, oddly enough. Time Bandits is wonderful. But now that we have David Cohen or his alias Taika Waititi, um, what do you think he's going to? And they're doing a TV show. And by the way, it's got Lisa Kudrow. Kudrow, she's the Friends girl, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and she looks like she's freaking 95. By the way, I don't know
Well,
what the
she
hell
was
happened to her.
always older than them, and that was
Well,
30 years ago, that show.
yeah, but I mean, she's my age, right?
Yep.
But
Yep.
whatever.
It's crazy. Some people they just
It's
literally age like
just
milk.
the
They just
wall
do.
just smashes them a billion times. But anyway,
Yes.
they're doing a TV show, which is cool. This the premise. You could definitely do a TV show with that.
Yep.
But since we have David involved and he's ultra woke, right?
Yep.
What do you think they're going to do with this? You think they're going to follow the standard pattern, or you think they might woke it up some?
Well, here's the problem. Mr. Clement knows how to do woke the right way. You can have all that stuff in a show. We've said this a million times. You can have it. It's fine
Are you sure?
as long as it's competent and does what it sets out to do.
I'm going to
You
hold you to
have to
that.
tell me you have to tell me a damn story. And it has
Hmm.
to be good and it has to be funny if you're going for funny,
Uh huh.
which I'm assuming they're going for funny.
Uh huh.
So if he's in charge of it, I would give it a chance. That's
Yeah.
the only just
Uh,
because he hasn't failed me yet with What We Do in the Shadows.
Now, I
Just
could have
hasn't.
been your friend and said, "Hold that thought for a minute. Take a look."
Oh boy, what is this?
Now,
Oh my.
they decided that they can't have dwarfs because somehow that's racist. I'm
That's right.
not
Yeah.
sure which ism it
Wait,
falls
is
under.
somebody named Kal-El? Is that real? That
Yes, yeah, Kal-El Tuck, of course. But whatever, idiots. Um, but look at Lisa in the center there. She looks ancient. She doesn't even look like herself. She looks like Skeletor. She's so thin. Um, but but here's the thing. the little people are getting absolutely screwed in this modern world because you
Yes,
can't give them opportunity because somehow this is some kind of ism. And it's like,
that's right.
what? Well, first of all, they're not human, the time bandits. They work
That's
for
correct.
the big guy, meaning God, and they kind of ticked him off a bit because they stole something from him, but not really. He let them take it. But
Well, he was God. Yeah.
they're kind of like an angel of some kind, right? They didn't
Right.
really detail it out, but they're not human. One, they're all little people. Why are you taking opportunity away from little people? So what they've done instead is they've gone throughout time and gotten people from different parts of time to be the here you see the big air quotes here, time bandits.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
see that. What? So they went with a like. Is this kid supposed to be like special needs or what's? Because
looks
why
like
do we
the
have?
looks like special needs. Uh,
Yeah.
Once again, Lisa, she looks so bad, dude. I don't
Okay.
know who the black guy you supposed to be from Britain. Circa 1021.
There was a lot. I have it under good authority that Britain was full of blacks at that time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is this some kind of 19th century Scottish man? I don't know what she's supposed to be. Is that a Viking
I believe that's a Viking. Yeah. Mhm.
with a frickin' a Louis Vuitton pouch?
Yeah. They wouldn't found the gay Viking. The one they found him.
They found the one, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like, you know,
Yeah, it's
spite.
silly.
It's
It's
all
it's
about spite.
unnecessary. Like you could do uh Time Bandits. You could do all of this. Get the little people in there first of all, and then if for some reason Lisa Kudrow needs to be involved, fine. Figure out a role for her, whatever. But why do we have to? This is amazing. When you get so far down the woke chain that you just start erasing the very thing you're supposed to be representing. Are we supposed to pretend that dwarfs don't exist? I don't understand. Like, why can't we have them in movie? Remember how it's all about representation, Chester. That's their big buzzword. Representation, inclusion. But we
Yeah.
don't want to put these short little ugly goofs on the screen.
No,
Nah, get them
we
out.
can't have
Get them out.
them.
Get them out.
And once again that you can see. All I have is this little. They're just doing a promo here. They haven't written anything yet, really. I don't think.
Right.
This is just okay. These are the actors we've chosen. Throw them in a costume. They might not even look like this when the show comes out. Let's do a photo and get it out. That's all this
Right.
is, right? But here's the thing. Once again, the premise of Gilliam's show was these dwarves worked for God
That's right.
and they stole a scroll that allowed them to pass through time. They're not from other places in time. Matter of fact, they kind of insinuate that they live outside of time, right? And
Time.
yeah, and they're going through time, and they're just using it to steal. They're literally time bandits. All they're doing
It
is
wasn't
trying to
a
get rich, and
listen. It's not a
evil.
complicated premise.
No, and the devil, right? The evil, the demiurge, right?
Yeah.
Has and I really think they were kind of going Gnostic with the idea, to be honest with you. But the evil sees that they have this powerful artifact, and he's looking to gain it, right?
Yes.
And they have to fight in the end. Of course, God shows up, and evil is kind of destroyed. And then the little boy who goes on the journey, which I'm assuming is Kal-El Tuck here, the
Yeah.
special needs girl, maybe.
I don't know. I don't know.
But it goes on the journey with them, a la Goonies, type of
Right.
situation. His parents, being dumbasses, touch the evil and therefore assumingly release it again. But that's it. That's the premise. It's pretty straightforward. But obviously, what they've done here is these people have been collected from time, which is not the premise at all.
Right.
This is uh, this is Bill and Ted's what this is.
Yeah.
This is Bill and
Pretty
Ted.
much.
So why are we
The
calling it
knockoff
Time
villain.
Bandits? Why isn't it Kal El Tuck and whatever. Oh, that's the act. No, hold on a second. That's the actor's name. Damn, your
That's right.
parents hate your ass.
They
Okay,
don't like that
they
person.
don't
Yeah.
like you. But whatever these two characters are is basically Bill and Bill, or Bill, Tedina and Tedina, I guess. It's not the premise, guys. It's
Yeah.
not Time Bandits, guys. But of course, they don't give a shit because it's about representation, and we can't have those little people because that's somehow ismist.
When you could literally, by the way, guys, just
Yeah, it
point
looks
this
like
out.
this. It
Little
looks like the Snow White cast found another job. That's right, Alan. That's right. Yeah,
dwarf people, the dwarves, the dwarven folk,
yeah,
come in
little
all the
people. Yeah,
colors, all of them.
they
They come. They,
do.
you could find one of every single race.
I've seen an
Uh,
Asian one, you know.
yeah, it's pretty
She was
terrifying.
kind
But
of
yeah,
cute in a weird way.
no, no, no. They come in every single human color. If
Yeah,
humans come in a color, they come in a color. So what's the
and wasn't
problem?
one of them black? Wasn't one of the Time Bandits black?
I believe you're correct. It's been a long time, but I believe you're correct. Uh, but even if he wasn't, okay, so you wanna do that. You wanna bring in
Let me check it.
representation. Okay, then why do we have to not have midgets? What's wrong with the dwarves? Why can't we have dwarves?
1981, I believe. Yeah.
Is it because the dwarves don't really grow the beards? Is that what's wrong, Mr. Cohen? Mr. Cohen, is that what's wrong? You want them to grow the beards, they don't grow the beards, and you're upset about it. Is that have I figured it out? Because he read too much Tolkien, yeah, right.
No, one
And
of
he
them
thinks
just
they should
had a
all have
very dirty
beards.
face. Sorry, he was just dirty
Yeah.
faced.
Look at
Yeah,
all this white supremacy. Look at them.
yeah. But I mean, these guys were great, though.
Yeah.
They all had character. Oh, shocking! Someone wrote, Gilliam wrote character in for them. They all, they're very much seven dwarfs, sure, but they all are recognizable. They're all interesting, and it was great fun. I mean, the of course the lead is the little guy hiding behind the map here in the center, but the guy on the right hand side, he was a good foil from time to time. Such a wonderful movie. But nevertheless, screw little people. You get no more work. No work for you.
That's right. That's right. Peter Dinklage has decided he is king of Hollywood midgets.
He
He
is.
has decided you are done. You will no longer be permitted to work. And
Yeah.
that's it. That's apparently it. Nobody will challenge this because that's it. Uh, it's so bad that didn't Disney, because they're doing that live action, whatever the hell, right? Didn't Disney decide they're just going to CGI in dwarves instead of just using
They
midgets?
did,
Like,
but that's
why?
actually been canceled. It got so much heat that they just threw it away.
Listen, they've got me out here defending my small brothers
Yeah.
because I'm sick of it. Because
Well, I
listen,
mean, yeah. Why
remember a few
can't they
years
work,
ago
man?
when they decided that all depiction of Indian Americans, all of them, were some form of racism, blah 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 blah, and they had to go.
Yep.
Remember, the Redskins had to change their name, the
Oh yeah.
Indians had to change their name. We had to take the squaw off the Land O'Lakes butter that had been on there forever. They all had to go. Couldn't have them anymore. Uh, why? Well, because it offends us.
Right.
Oh, it
I
offends
guess. And
you.
now you don't see any Indians anywhere.
Yeah, now they're just gone. They just
Mm.
wiped them out. They're just full erasure. It maybe this. See, maybe we got them wrong, Chester. Maybe they have been the colonists all along, and they're just
Mm.
used. They've
You
come
think?
up with this brilliant strategy
Yeah.
to get what they want, which is a lily white world. But
No,
the
you
only way
wouldn't
they can have it,
suggest that one of their founding members of
yeah,
modern wokeism, Margaret Sanger, wants to kill all the blacks. You wouldn't suggest such a thing.
no, no,
No,
I wouldn't
Hillary, that's
suggest
her.
that.
That's her hero. You wouldn't suggest such a
But
thing,
she might.
right?
uh,
Yeah.
no, it's preposterous. It's preposterous in the extreme. You can't have a representation of apparently anybody who is a caricature unless they're a white caricature, because for some reason it's okay to shit on white people's representations. Uh, how about we just all stop being a bunch of pussies? Can
Yeah.
we try that? Can we
Well,
give
you
that a
know what I
shot?
suggest? I say we put Peter Dinklage and Hornswoggle in a cage and let them
Yeah.
settle it.
Let Hornswoggle. Oh, I think Mr. Swoggle would handle that business. I'm
He
going to tell you
would
right
he would
now.
handle his business well, sir. That's a tough little dude right there. Don't you mess with
Oh yeah.
Hornswoggle.
Uh,
And he was giving shit
he's
online too.
he's such a good dude. He really is. Like I've known people who hung out with him, who knew him. Back in the day, way back in the day, there was a couple guys he used to do independent shows for Booker T down in Houston before Booker got his deal with WWE to be one of their like developmental things. Uh, he's not blacklisted or anything. I don't know if he still does it. And at the time, these guys had a company where they would set up rings and stuff, right? They were a stage crew basically, and they said he was just so cool. He was just so cool. He's so much fun to hang out with. He was hilarious. He was always cracking jokes. He'd get offended if you didn't shit on him, right? Like he'd get upset if you weren't, if he wasn't also in on the jokes. Like he was just a normal fucking dude who just happens to be a midget.
Mm.
So when you got these stuck up snobs like Dinklage, who for some reason decided to wake up one day and shit all over his dwarven brothers, uh, it pissed him off, as we've seen, because he went in on him a couple times for the
Yeah,
ridiculous shit that he
and
says
he's
because he's
right
costing
too.
these people work.
Who
Like,
the
what are
hell
you
does
doing?
Peter Dinklage think he is?
Yeah,
Something I noticed when we know this is just a thrown together photo shoot. We get it. But did you notice that the boots on the Scotsman, the
yeah,
Blackman, and the pseudo native girl, they're the same boots or the
yes,
same boot coverings? You
very
notice
similar
they put
boots.
some rope on. No, they're the same. They put some rope on hers to distinguish it. These guys are exactly the same.
Yep,
But I mean, they threw it together for a photo shoot. I get it. No big deal.
it's
But yeah,
interesting.
this is
I
just
just,
disappointing, dude. It's disappointing.
it's a shame. It looks like it's gonna be on Apple, so I'm not gonna watch it anyway because only weird Apple
True.
cultists watch thing on Apple, and I
Yeah,
am
no, I
not one of
don't
them.
watch anything on Apple. Anyway, there's a little bit more fun for you. We got the Doctor Who hating at you. We got no more midgets allowed.
Not allowed.
What's this?
Controversy
No.
erupts
Mm.
over Assassin's Creed Shadows protagonist. That is a very diplomatic way
Yeah.
to headline this.
Well, you
Uh,
have
this,
you know,
this is insane.
it
Go
is
ahead. This
insane.
is insanity.
Well, no, because first of all, let's look at the subtlety of Ubisoft's racism here. Assassin's Creed Shadows has a black man,
That's right.
Shadow, black,
Yes. Yes,
Black
that's right.
Shadow, Midnight. Good job,
That's correct.
Ubisoft. Really good job.
Nailed
And
it.
nailed it indeed. Has a chick in there, and let me correct any of you who might be slightly confused. Never in the history of Japan has there ever did I was I emphatic enough?
I think you said ever. I'm pretty
Ever
sure.
a female
Yeah,
samurai. Now
that's correct.
they have the
It,
kuroichis, which
the
are
thought
female
of it wouldn't
ninjas.
even like what? What are you
No,
talking? Like that's
I'll
nonsense.
explain how it all works out. They
Yeah.
do have the ninja girls, but those
Sure.
girls didn't fight anybody.
No,
They probably didn't even have weapon training. What those girls did was they were cute and they would get in bed with powerful men and listen.
that's right.
That's what and tell you, female spies like that are very effective,
Oh yeah, still use
and
them
they
today.
can
To this
pour
day.
poison and stuff too. But
Honeypots. That's what they call
the
them.
honeypots, yeah.
Honeypots. Yeah,
But they don't go around sword fighting. And
correct.
then most ninjas aren't sword fighting anyway. A
No,
ninja, if
they
they're
would
doing
they
some
would get
manner of
slaughtered.
assassination, they would get slaughtered. Yeah,
Yeah,
they're basically trying to get in and out without being known that they were there.
that's
I
right.
know the fun of the video game or the movie is great, but it's not realistic. But
No,
nevertheless, we got a female samurai, which never existed. At least she's Japanese-ish looking,
yeah, that's right.
ish. But we don't even have a Japanese man in here. There is no Japanese samurai man in Shadows. We have Midnight here. He's Shadow.
That's it. That's what we're calling him from now. He's just midnight.
He's Midnight.
That's his name.
Now,
Midnight.
Yasuke, he was now he was he they say this historical portrayal of historical Yasuke. Now let me kind of lay it out for you. First of all, no Japanese even knows this,
Yep.
right? Only the history nerds like me know these kind of things. He was here for about a year. About a year.
That's right.
He was a retainer for Nobunaga. He was in a single fight, one where he got his ass kicked, and he went home after the assassination of Nobunaga. He was not a samurai. He didn't fight anybody. He was a retainer, and he was a novelty for Nobunaga, I would assume. And he was only here a year.
That's right.
So
That's right.
and like I said, Japanese don't even know who this dude is, right?
Correct.
He's not this historical African samurai. He's not, dude. And he
Correct.
wasn't even a good fighter. The one fight he
No, he
was in,
wasn't
he got his
trained.
ass kicked.
He wasn't trained to be a fighter, really. I mean, he was just he was a what sounds like from what we have gathered, in because there's you know the information is interesting from that time period. We'll call it that. Is he was
Well,
basically
it's
a
wartime.
pet. Yeah, he
In a
was
way, he
basically a
was.
pet.
He was some
Yeah,
kind of novelty. But no,
yes,
that was we're talking about the Sengoku Jidai. Now, Jidai
that's right.
means era, right? So, what does
Correct.
Sengoku mean? It means the time of war,
That's right.
right? So, and there was these three shogun who came up over, three separate shoguns, and by the end of it, with Tokugawa, they had unified Japan into a single place through a lot of bloodshed. It was a crazy, crazy, chaotic time. I know we'll get in deeper in the history, but it's kind of dumb. And because you got to understand what a samurai is. It's not. Yeah, first of all, their equipment sucks balls, right?
That's correct.
They're wearing literally laminar type of armor. It doesn't protect you very well from anything other than
Correct.
glancing blows and stuff. It's not good armor, right? It might look cool if you like that aesthetic, but it's not effectively good, right?
Correct.
the the nihonto, or the katana as Western people usually call it, is basically a heavy iron bar. It's a shit sword.
That's right.
I know we have this mysticism built up through anime and stuff over the years, and excuse the Japanese having some pride and fantasy in their stuff. But realistically, it's a shit sword. It's not a good sword at all. The cool
Correct.
thing, and what made the samurai so effective, is this: they took that shit sword, they learned how to use it perfectly for what it was, and they
Right.
trained them from frickin' babyhood,
Correct.
right? That's why the samurai himself, the Bushi himself, was badass. Not the
Bad
equipment,
motherfuckers.
he was. And they
That's
were
right.
trained from very young babyhood. And of course, keep in mind, samurai are a death cult, literally.
Yes.
And
Literally. Yes.
they're absolute morons. And
Yep.
I say this to Japanese too. If they're absolute morons. You spend 20 years training a samurai, 20
You just
freaking
kill
years,
yourself.
and you make a single mistake and you have to say puku. Are you
Yeah. That's
freaking kidding me?
outrageously stupid. What a waste of resources.
And it's
Dumb.
not very profound or wise for your training of the individual anyway. Now, I guess if you want the ultimate loyalty, all right, right, but you're not getting people
Except
who are
that didn't
going to
work.
govern wisely.
They would betray each other all the damn time.
Yeah,
That's
but this
why there was
is
these eras of war and endless war and backstabbing and political. It's why they had assassins and what
oh,
we call
during
ninjas.
wartime, when
Yeah.
with America, there were so many assassinations inside the government,
Yep.
constant waves of them. But here's the thing with Ubisoft. First of all, great job calling Midnight Shadow. I love it. I love it. Good job, Ubisoft. Real wise there. Secondly, you want to talk about racism? What about your racism here toward the Japanese? Your
Yeah.
absolute disregard for the Japanese people. There are no female samurai, but yet the actual samurai, who were cool as shit. I mean, they're death culty and dumb, but they were cool because they were badass
Yep.
warriors. Badass, right? You're going to
Yep.
disrespect them and show racism toward them. It's myopic. Can I use that word? Do people know that word anymore?
Well, I do, but yes, it is very myopic. It is. I mean, it. Let's call it what it is. It's evil. They know what they're doing. They're doing it on purpose. It's not about black representation. They've already had, I think, two separate games with a black protagonist in Assassin's Creed. I believe it's two. One of them was a chick, in fact.
Hmm.
and nobody cared because she was cool. She was a good character who they established well, and it made sense. Former slave and all this stuff. Like it made sense. Why she would turn to the life she did, and that's fine. They've had my favorite Assassin's Creed game of the last 10 years, Assassin's Creed Odyssey, was two different protagonists, a male or a female, and the chick was by far the better of the two. When you actually played the game.
Yeah, they did that intentionally.
Yes, I agree. But regardless, she just was. She was better acted. The game just felt like it was made for her more than it did the guy. Um, and that was whatever, fine. I just played it like a Xena simulator basically because that's what it was. And so they've done these things before. The original Assassin's Creed game, the main protagonist of it is Arab. Now the guy who's because there's two protagonists. There's him and then Altair. Altair, based on a real person, is Arab.
Yeah.
Very Arab.
Well, it is
So it's not like you've ever
assassin is an
had.
Arabic word, right?
Yes, it's not like you've ever had like issues with representation in this franchise. It's not our fault that for whatever reason the best Assassin's Creed game ever made is Black Flag, in my opinion, or Assassin's Creed 2, which both star white guys. That's not our fault. That's not the audience's fault. It's not even your fault. It just is what it is. It was you guys nailed it for whatever reason. You just had the juices flowing there. But this idea that we have to worry about injecting a black man because there's some vague reference out there in history about a
Hmm.
black guy living in Japan for a little while back in these eras is just so obnoxious. It's
Yeah,
obnoxious,
but keep in mind,
is what it
he
is.
was never ever referred to as samurai. He was
No,
not.
of course not.
He was
Of course,
he was given the title of Bushi by Nobunaga,
yes,
which means soldier or warrior, right? He was never a samurai. That was not a title that was given to him because he didn't have a lord, nor would he be allowed to. He's a foreigner.
correct.
The Japanese aren't really the most, how should we say, openly diplomatic with the what they call nambanjin. Would you like me to translate that?
Does that mean barbarian?
It does.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Now, keep in mind
I
with
only know.
Perry and
You
all
know
the
why I
other.
know that? I only know that because of the Shogun show. Because that's they call them Anjin. They don't do the Namban, but they call them Anjin in that show, which just means barbarian. They just keep calling
No,
them
Anjin
barbarian.
means savage.
Well, yes, but I get what you're saying, but those words are interchangeable in the English language by
Now,
and
do
large.
keep in mind when the Europeans did get over there and start going in, and they were, if you compare the two, the Japanese were the barbarians for sure. And I've
Oh
actually asked many Japanese what they think of this, because during that entire time, the Japanese were constantly referring to people as, oh, these savages from outside,
yes,
when the Japanese in literally were the savages. And I
yeah.
asked them, what do you think about that? Why was that? Why were they like that? And they have no answer. And I know what the answer: racism. Anyway,
Hey, good
is
old
there any
fashioned.
proof Yasuke was a samurai? No, he was given in the very very end. Nobunaga thought he was interesting, I guess, and took him as a retainer, and therefore he became a bushi,
Yes,
a soldier.
yeah,
He's not a samurai. Samurai is a very specific type of bushi. Now here in Japan, bushi and samurai are often interchangeable, right?
yeah.
But
Samurai would be closer to a knight in feudal Europe. The idea.
yeah, but mainly
Um,
what it means is the samurai is a little bit different in the fact that the tools they use and that they are attached to a lord directly. I mean,
correct.
literally, their life is attached to that lord, where a soldier can move between places, right?
Right. Well, you could think of it in modern terms. You could think of it this way too. In modern military, you have your enlisted men who are literally only there under a contract, and then you have officers. Officers are it's a much higher rank, literally, and it's got more prestige and more responsibility, and it's just a different level of not commitment, I guess, but it's just a different level in the hierarchy and the structure of
Right.
the organization of most modern
Well, they're
militaries. A
kind of like a
samurai is
legate.
closer to that.
They're like a
Yeah,
legate,
exactly. Yeah,
whereas there are plenty of centurions running around that
right.
aren't
Yeah,
legates, right?
yeah.
And another thing I want to mention about Japan and female. Now, the simple fact of the matter, well, this idiocy, modern day, women can fight, women can do anything a man would do, put women on the front line, women could be in blood sports, and all this kind of nonsense. Let me put this
Good
very
luck.
clearly: the reason we don't do that shit is because we want to protect the baby making fucking machines.
That's correct.
We don't want
That's correct.
to. We don't want to lose this resource. That's why we
It is
don't
a
put women.
sad
Women. Go
fact
ahead.
of reality, a sad fact of reality that, and I say this as a man, that you only really need, comparatively anyway, a few men. Obviously, you need more than a few, but you get my meaning. You need far less men
Yeah, but
to
you need
maintain
lots of women.
society than you do women. You can't replace the women. It takes too long to do so. You need their wombs. You need their eggs. You need to just keep the species going. Whereas men, one man could fertilize potentially thousands of women if they wanted to.
They can.
So you
Um,
don't need as many
but I mean, this is why
in the
we do
long
it.
run.
Well, because it's not like saying a woman couldn't kill something. Of course they can.
Oh,
That's
yes.
not the point. The point
They
is
can
where
become decently competent warriors,
I'm sure
actually.
they can, but we don't want them to be in danger. Now, here
Yeah.
in Japan, they did have a system where you know what a naginata is?
Yes.
Okay, it's like a long kind of it's like a pole arm, like a glaive,
Basically a
right?
pole sword.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and all the women in the village or the town were trained in its use. Because when
Yes.
the men were out fighting, if there was some banditry or something to come in, at least the women could try to defend themselves. So
Right.
we're not sitting here saying the women in Japan didn't know how to fight, weren't trained in fighting because they were. Matter of fact, I imagine a village of women in Japan was probably far more competent at protecting itself than a bunch of women in an English village,
Right.
right? Because you don't understand the level of war that was going on here.
Yes.
People don't understand it. Sure, we have wars in the West, but you basically have small armies going against small armies in fields outside the village. They're
Right.
out in the fields. They're not in the villages hardly, right? Now the Muslims were a little bit different, but that's not fighting anyway. That's join us or die.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
very different, right?
Fighting
S
isn't permitted in that
But
circumstance.
here in Japan, especially during that age, the violence was so ridiculous that they literally had to train their women in order to try to give them a fighting chance to survive.
Yes.
But they weren't bushi, they weren't soldiers. Why would the men put their women in such danger? They wouldn't do that. And any kind of moron out there wants to come at me, go to hell. You don't,
Yeah.
if you're saying these kind of things, you don't care about women at all. So, go to
Correct.
hell. But this is dumb, more dumb stuff from Ubisoft, and this is one of the bigger controversies that I've seen. This thing's blown up. And they've pissed the
So
Japanese off I mean, really pissed the Japanese off, by the way.
yeah, they're
I
gonna push
actually saw
forward with
this
it.
on the news.
Yeah.
Wow.
They're gonna
Right?
they're gonna push forward with it. They don't care. It probably will end up either banned or just completely boycotted in Japan.
I imagine.
Um, and it seems like it's going to happen a lot in the West too, because people, like I was saying at the start of the show, they've lost. They refuse to admit that they've lost, but they've lost. It's over. A few years ago, I would have probably been cool with it. I would have probably been cool with it 10 years ago. Like, oh, cool, yeah, let's do a Yasuke thing. Because if as long as you're not trying to present it as this actually happened,
Well, no,
right?
just
If
do
if
the
if it was
story of
alternate
Yasuke. It
history,
might be interesting. But
yeah, if you were doing an alt history thing, cool, whatever. But that's not what they. That's not how they've
well,
portrayed
no,
this.
Assassin's Creed should have Japanese protagonists.
Yes, I
And,
agree.
I mean,
I've
plain and
wanted a
simple.
Japanese Assassin's Creed since the first one. I said, man, imagine if they did this in Japan.
Yeah,
I
I saw
remember
it.
it. I
I
used
thought it
to have
was cool. I was like, "Yeah, that's
conversations.
cool." But of course they
But
did
nope.
this shit because they're a bunch of assholes. And the
Yeah,
hints have come out also that Yasuke is gay.
that's right.
Let's think about this. This is talk about 500 years ago.
That's
A
correct.
black African man, and he's gay.
That's correct. You know how
Yeah, that's definitely was a common thing in for African men 500 years ago.
yeah, yeah. Not a problem there at all. No problem at all. I don't know what the problem is. The funny thing is you see, because they can't do it, Chester. They can't do it. They can't bring themselves to give what would if they were going to do a race swap of a samurai. There actually is a white one. His name was uh, William. Well, they called him William Angin or Angin Maria. He eventually, it was later though. It was later than this. He was allegedly actually made a full samurai, one of the only foreigners to ever be given that title. Uh,
Yeah, because they couldn't lay a sword on him.
yes, he was such a good fighter because he was a European warrior. Let's be
Yeah.
honest, they couldn't touch him. They didn't see anything like that. See, they had been running into sailors and stuff, right? Which is one of the things that Shogun show does very well. The main white guy is a sailor. He's not a warrior. He's a sailor. And sailor, as much as Hollywood has made us think that all these sailors were great fighters, these pirates could all battle. No, they were sailors. They couldn't fight hand to hand. They'd get stomped, especially by a trained samurai. They'd get absolutely murdered.
Yeah.
Uh, but a warrior, an actual European warrior, would be a different story. And it was in this case. This gentleman was an absolute beast. Uh, that's that would be cool. You could do that. You could tell that story if you wanted to, and it'd be a perfect setting as an Assassin's Creed game.
Mhm.
But they don't want to do that because they have an agenda, and that's the problem. It's not even so much the problem that they're doing Yasuke, because I've said it on this show. I wouldn't mind somebody doing something cool with the character in an altered history situation.
You could do something like Afro Samurai with Samuel L. Jackson was great fun.
Yep,
No one
yep.
cared
You can do
because it's
that
just a
stuff.
fantasy thing. But
Exactly.
this
That's
is
the difference.
insulting.
Is the
And
intention.
I heard
The
someone
intention.
say that it's the intention. Someone said that if they had like a DLC, a downloadable, content for
Right.
Yasuke, people probably thought that would be cool. But
Yeah,
the fact
that'd
that
be
they're
fun.
just not giving you a Japanese male, it's
Bro,
insulting.
like I
It's
said, it's
racism,
been
dude.
20 years, almost 20 years. I've been an Assassin's Creed fan since the first game. I've always loved AC, even if I've taken breaks from it because it got too samey or too boring or whatever. But the concept, I think, is really cool. These semi-historical, mostly historical dramas, or whatever you want to call them, action stealth games, is a cool idea. And it was always came off that way. And I remember the conversations on the internet at the time and with my friends at the time about how sick it would be if they if this was ever a Japanese game. How sick it would be if this was ever a Japanese in Japan. That why
It
aren't they
would
doing
be fun.
every time a new one came out? Like why aren't they going to Japan? Why are we going
Yeah.
to Italy? For fuck's like I was so mad when they announced that Assassin's Creed 2 was in Italy. I was like, why? Nobody cares about Italy. Now, granted, it ended up being awesome, but I didn't want it at the
Hmm.
time. I wanted them to go to Japan. And then they did one in China before they did one in Japan. They did it was like a mobile game or something. I'm like, what are you doing? It's
Yeah.
right there. It's
Right.
right
And
there.
if
And
they wanted to do the black fantasy thing, then why don't you go do the Zulu nation versus the
yeah,
Dutch, or better, the British? Why don't you do
yep.
it in that age? You could easily have an Assassin's Creed that are helping them fight against the British, and you can have black characters. It's a
Well,
perfect setting.
like I said, they've already done it. They've done it with former slaves. One was, I think, he was a Dominican or a Haitian or whatever, and then the other, I can't remember what the girl was, but she was also, I'm pretty sure, a former slave turned pirate, and then eventually assassin. Um,
He was a key
okay,
figure in Japanese history. What? Okay.
who was?
Yeah, yes, this black fella. Um, and as far as the warrior thing goes, he probably would have been big and strong and probably hard to beat, and that's probably why he got the attention of Nobunaga. Because I know
Yes.
just from my experiences over here, I've been in several sporty fight situations, right?
Mhm.
One was with kendo because I took my son to my son was in kendo, and he was pretty good at it, actually. I think it's his best sport he did, but he preferred rugby, which I'm cool with. But nevertheless, he did it, and once a year they would have the parents come in and have the parent fight the kid, right? And
Right.
they put the parents in all the gear, the men do kote, the armor, and they'd have the kendo and they fight the kid. And me, I was a really, really, really good fencer, right? Plus, I did the SCA forever, right?
Right.
So I have a lot of sporty sword fighting, experience. Now, how would translate to real life? Probably not so well, right? But as far as sporty fighting, I've done plenty of that, boxing and other stuff. But nevertheless, so I'd get up there. I wouldn't because they didn't have any armor that fit me, right?
Right.
Not even close. And I said, I don't need that anyway. It's just a Shinai. I mean, come on. It doesn't hurt. But I would take the thing and I play around with him a little bit, and I'd sting him and take a point. And then I would kind of, lean in my head and let him take a couple points and win, right?
Right.
Just for fun. And people come up there, Dajabu, Dajabu, are you okay? Are you okay? Because I let him hit me in the head with the Shinai. And it's like, yeah, it's a little bamboo toy. But whatever. I mean, shit, I've been hit with baseball bats. What are you people on about? Uh, but
Yes.
uh, but
They
nevertheless,
don't understand. See, that's it sounds horrifically racist to say, but the truth of the matter is the Asian people, by and large, exceptions of course, but by and large, your average Asian man even is soft and weak comparatively when it comes to like physical violence
oh,
compared
yeah,
to, yeah,
these days, yeah.
especially compared to your average European. And I would say even at that time, if you took your average European soldier, conscript, whatever you want to call it, compared to your average Japanese one, the European would just have been better at everything. Strictly because we're physically more imposing as a race than they are.
Oh yeah,
Um, and
It's just
it is
a
what it is.
strength and size thing. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
true.
it just is what it is.
And we had better
So a
armor,
guy like
better swords,
Yasuke, which I'm assuming, he was probably a decently sized man
probably.
from the accounts, he would probably be very physically dominant in that regard
I bet he
compared
would be.
to
Yeah,
a Japanese man at the time,
yeah.
or even today. So it's just, yeah, we had better swords, we had way better armor. Like it's not even close.
Yeah. Oh, they
And I
did.
would say we had better training. They're doing a lot of research, as you know, and they're discovering a lot about actual middle-aged European martial arts that was just lost, just simply lost
Mhm.
once guns started taking over.
Oh, yeah. No, they
And
were badass, but I'm not gonna take away from the Bushi. They were pretty
no,
well
not at
trained.
all.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were
But anyway,
absolutely
let
well
let me
trained.
let me finish my little story here. Uh,
Go ahead.
so, I did this for a few years, and then one year the teacher, one of the teachers, and he was like Godan, right? Which is like fifth level black belt, right? Which is
Right.
high, right? Very, very high. He wanted to challenge me, and that's not the point. The point was the parent to fight with the kid, and I was like, okay, right. And Of course, because of the honor of it, he took his armor off as well. And I made in the step one, I made a mistake because I thought it was fun. We're having fun.
Right.
And he came in and he came in really aggressive and got a hit, got a point. And I was like, all right, we're going to play that way. So he got the first point on me. He did, and he got it real easy too, which is completely to my shame. But He didn't get another point. Yeah.
Now imagine, Chester, if you were a man of your persuasion 400 or 500 years ago, and your entire life has been preparing for combat.
Yeah.
You're a member of the aristocracy or whatever, a knight or a sir, a nobleman, and all you have done is basically manage properties or oversee properties. You're not really doing the management and prepare for combat your whole life.
Hmm.
These people in both cultures, Japanese. It's one of the reasons why I think Japanese and Westerners get along so well is we have very similar martial cultures. I mean, they were literally feudal. They
Yeah.
just were.
Very, very similar.
Uh,
Yeah.
so very similar martial cultures. These people were just a totally different breed. Like we try and represent them as best we can in a lot of our fiction and stuff, but we just simply can't understand the way somebody who trained in actual martial combat their entire life, the way they thought, the way they behaved, how important certain etiquette was to them, because they took everything very, very seriously. Because they had to. Their life was literally on the line whenever they would step out onto the battlefield. So, and the lives of everybody they cared about, most likely, or very often. So, my point is, these people would have absolutely rolled anybody going today. It wouldn't even be
Oh
close.
my
I don't
God.
care,
Yeah.
and except
Yeah.
for maybe the upper echelon world champ type guys.
You gonna eat
But
that
when
spicy
if it
chicken
came
now?
to a fight where weapons were involved of
Uh-huh.
any
Dry out.
description, It wouldn't even be close.
Yes.
It'd be a slaughter.
That's true. Hey, we get Larry in here. Hi, Larry.
Oh, what's
Um,
up?
yeah, no, well, 500 years ago, my family was baronial, and
Right.
we were up in what's Strathclyde, which they call Lowland Scotland today. And we were, it was very interesting baronial family because we didn't really have people. We were in charge of the royal horses.
Excellent.
Yes. So we bred and raised and maintained the horses for the Royal Army. That's what my family did, and I guess that deserves a baronship. I
Yeah,
don't know
it's
why.
important. You need their
Yeah,
horses. Need them
yeah.
horses.
But usually, when you think of baronial families, they were in charge of land, collecting taxes and stuff like that. We didn't do that at all.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, no, it's
So I'd have
my
been
point
working
is,
on a horse ranch. Is my point.
as much fun as we have with it today, the people back in that day, the men especially, this idea that they would have seen this gentleman as anything other than a novelty is ridiculous. They would have never been able to even conceptualize him as an equal, and to grant him an actual title like a
Oh my
Yeah.
samurai
gosh.
Well, I
would be
imagine
just ludicrous.
Nobunaga probably took some shit for it, to be honest with you. But no,
Oh,
but
I'm
knowing
sure.
the character of Nobunaga, he probably thought it was funny. And this Yasuke guy, whatever his real name was, he probably was a
Oh, I
pretty
had a
capable
bite. I
fighter.
had one bite.
Are you okay,
Oh,
Larry?
You
Are
know
you
what you're
talking to
talking
me,
about,
Larry?
Chris?
Can you hear me, Larry? I don't think Larry can
does
hear
Larry
us.
does Larry
Larry's
know he's even
here.
in here?
He's washing dishes, talking to probably his wife, I'd assume.
Okay, Google.
But
What
he
time
can't
is it?
hear us, so it's
There
okay.
you go.
It'll be a running gag. But nevertheless, and I had another thing too with a kind of karate guy, and he
One
wanted to
eighth.
do some sparring, and I
Yep.
was like, all right. And he was very, very, very serious. And he tried to kung fu my ass. And I kind of puny gogged hulked him.
Gentlemen in the world. There's a reason professional sports have weight classes.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
it matters.
yeah, yeah.
There's a reason why everybody can talk all
Less.
kinds of shit, but nobody
It's
nobody
almost
not in his weight class is
almost
challenging Brock
300 hours.
Lesnar to a fight.
No,
Because
Almost.
not
no.
a
I mean,
no.
the guy was probably 60, 65 kilos, maybe.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean,
Exactly.
shit, I can, throw that around with one arm.
Yeah. Yeah. I probably could too. To be honest.
I mean, I do it every day. I throw 50 kilos around all day.
Yeah.
But so those are my only two sporty combat things, and they both went very badly for the Japanese folk. Yeah.
I'd
So
imagine.
my
Yeah.
point
Now,
being is,
now,
giant Western men are not to be trifled with.
no, no. There's a reason that Europeans took over the whole world. That didn't just happen by accident. It wasn't an oops. It wasn't for anything other than the fact that their warriors were better.
Oh,
That's
those
it.
guys were
They were.
brutal too, dude.
Oh yeah.
Brutal,
Yeah.
brutal, brutal.
Yeah.
Anyway, Ubisoft dumb again. All right.
Very dumb,
Uh,
Ubisoft. Just dumb.
I got more
Dumb.
nonsense. Are you ready?
Uh-oh. Not
Yeah, the
Sebastian Stan.
spite
What have they done to him?
continues. Now, do keep in mind before you read this, Larry is half here with us.
Yeah.
He's not really here, but he's half here. And
Yes.
Larry is an animator that works for Hollywood, just so you know.
Oh, excellent. Excellent.
Yeah. Anyway, go
Brutal.
ahead.
Brutal, by the way. That's
Mhm.
the adjective they went with. Donald Trump biopic, The Apprentice, gets an 8-minute Kane standing ovation as director says it's time to make movies political again.
What? They've been doing
What?
this
Huh?
for a decade or more. I don't think they ever stopped. It's called Cannes. It's pronounced Cannes, by the way. It's French. You know how they
No,
are.
no,
Um,
no. I
but
don't respect French. It's
yeah.
Kane's. I
Now,
don't care.
this movie is so bad. This movie is so bad. It's such an attack on Donald Trump that Donald Trump has actually had his lawyer write up a cease and desist.
Yeah.
Right? That's how bad it is. We know that Trump usually, I mean, he will get litigious, but usually he kind of
Oh
lets
yeah.
this kind of stuff slide. But that's how bad it is. In this, they say, well, it's fictional, but we feel it's the truth. It's fictional, but
Oh,
we feel it's
well
the truth.
that's
dude.
So slander, then. Just
Yeah,
straight slander is what it
they
is.
have him raping the dude. They have him raping Ivanka in this movie, dude.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Dude,
That's yeah, no, that's way too far. I like look, you don't have to like Donald Trump. I have many qualms with him, but come on. There's one thing you cannot take away from the man. You can take a lot from Mr. Trump. You can, and a lot of it he probably deserves. He is an exceptional father. And we know that because his kids
look at his
love
kids.
him.
Yeah.
They all
Look at
love him.
them. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's this TDS thing is ridiculous because
Yep.
there are some people who are the opposite and Trump all day. They're like it's like God to them.
Yes. Yeah, that's a
We
problem.
we
Yeah.
s- we're more libertarians, I think here, and
Yeah.
we're like, yeah, Trump is useful for some things, and there's some things I don't like, but I'm going to be honest about it, right?
Yes.
But simple fact of the matter is, uh, this guy, I don't even know who this Jeremy Strong is, but he got up at this speech, and he talked about how Donald Trump is the Hitler, the Stalin, the Mao Zedong, the Pol Pot of our modern age. And now we've heard this a
Well,
lot. This isn't new. But the thing is, I mean, where are they getting it from, though? Is the question I have. Where are you're going to make a statement like that? Okay, so
okay.
where are you getting it from? What evidence do you have? What even suggestion of Donald Trump being anything like that do you have? We have 4 years of him as president. We see exactly what he did.
Yep.
So, I mean, and none of those things, none of those names come to mind when I think about Donald. There's plenty of things I wish he had done more of, but I mean,
Yeah.
certainly not any of those kind of murderous fascist, Marxist, socialist, communists is what they are, and which is funny because these people are the communists,
That's
by
right.
their own admission, right? But I just don't understand because I keep hearing it. Where are they getting this comparison from? What has Trump done that compares him to these monsters of history? What has he done? Please,
He def
somebody, show me
he
one
def
thing.
in their mind, unironically, he defied them. That's it. That's it. That's all it takes. You are now a monster and a demon and a threat to quote hashtag democracy, whatever that means. A duly elected president is somehow a threat to democracy. That's okay. Not sure how that works, but okay. Um, yeah, no, that's it.
Yeah,
That's literally it.
he
They are
didn't.
offended
Yeah.
that he didn't kiss the ring to them.
I
He
suppose
won't bow
so.
to them,
But I mean, he
and
didn't
that's it.
make any war. He stopped them.
That's
He
correct.
didn't, try to arrest his political opponents, which they're trying to do to him. I mean, he just
Yes.
didn't do anything that denotes or demands this kind of reaction. I can understand you say he's a braggart, he's disgusting. Okay, fine. But
Right.
this is it. Just there's no hint of evidence for him being like that, especially since we've seen what he'll do as president.
Correct.
We've already
He's been
seen it.
president before. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not that offensive. Wasn't that big a deal. Um, it's interesting because yesterday a picture was going around uh, from the George Floyd incident, and in the background of said picture is a sign, a gas station sign,
Hmm.
and the price of the gas was $1.89 a gallon,
Right.
and I just got sad
Yeah.
in my heart
Yeah.
because I said, man, we didn't understand how good we had it. Like
Yeah.
that's crazy good.
That's true.
A
Uh,
dollar 89, a dollar 89,
Ethereal
and
Dragon Kissinger was pretty bad. Hey, Larry, can you hear me now, Larry? Larry, ask Larry if he can hear you. Maybe he can hear you.
I don't think so. Larry, can you hear me?
No,
Negative. I don't think he knows he's in here. I think he might have pocket butt dialed us a little bit,
he
Chester. I
might
think
have
that's
butt
what
dialed
happened.
us. That's okay.
Yeah,
I'm okay with
yeah,
that. I'm enjoying the Larry's presence. I kind of wish he were here because I imagine he's probably a little bit more liberal than us, more
could
like
be. Yeah.
kind of like Ben. But then
Oh,
again, I don't know. I have some liberal things in me too. But
yeah, I know.
yeah, uh,
Did you? Speaking of Trump, since we're talking about him, did you see him at the Libertarian National
yeah,
Convention or whatever it is.
He actually
That was
started to
pretty
win him
good.
over. I thought that was impressive. It started out pretty
Well,
bad, but he
you don't
started to
have
win
to
him
like
over.
what I'm about to say, libertarians. I was one of you for a very long time. He is the most libertarian president we've had, maybe ever.
Oh
At
yeah,
least
no,
since
definitely
At
true.
least since
Yeah.
Wilson. At least
Well,
since
he is
the
a liberal. Remember,
Federal
he was
Reserve.
a Democrat forever.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
So
But just to let you give some, I'm going to go make some coffee here. But to give you something to chew on, not only do they have him raping Ivanka in this movie, they also have made him a druggie,
oh boy,
right?
that's
Trump, we know how hardcore he is about drugs and alcohol because he lost the kid, right?
he lost his brother. Yeah.
Or brother, right? Sorry, brother. We
Yep.
know Biden lost a kid, right? But we know how
Yes.
hardcore he is anti against those things, right?
Yep.
We
Doesn't
know
drink.
how he is. He's very, very anti, and that's why his kids are not druggies and stuff. I'm sure they probably drink when dad's not around, but not when dad's there.
Nope.
And of course that's why they make him a druggie because, and you know why he's a druggie? Would you like to guess why he's a druggie? The reason he's a
I
druggie?
have no idea. What is it?
Because he's getting fat, so he was using drugs to try to lose weight.
So
Petty spite. Yeah,
yeah, these people are terrible people.
they are. You
They're just
chew on that
terrible
for a
people.
minute. I'm going to get some coffee.
Listen, I've been an open critic of Donald John Trump even when he was president, even when he was running for president. The only reason I started to tangentially side with him against the Democrats was because they were incessantly lying about the things he was saying. Uh, we can go all the way back to, and they still say this one. It's a bold-faced lie that he's called Mexicans rapists and murderers when that isn't what he said at all. We have the as Scott Adams calls it, the Fine People hoax, where they pretend that he called neo Nazis and neo Confederates fine people when that's not what he did at all. Multiple occasions where they have just outright intentionally twisted his words and turned them into things that they were not, and then demanded that you accept that or you're some kind of istrophobe. That sort of stuff will drive me away from any cause instantaneously because it's so dishonest, it's disgusting. I've said this about Trump for many years. The reason why people trust Trump, the reason why I can look away, and these people as well will look away from when he is dishonest, is because he's an honest liar. There is a difference between an honest liar and a dishonest truth teller. A dishonest truth teller is far, far, far worse because an honest liar is someone who, if they lie, it causes very, very little damage. A dishonest truth teller is someone who's supposed to be telling you the truth, who you expect the truth from, or at least the position or station they have should expect the truth from, like a journalist or a scientist or I don't know, a member of our intelligence agencies. Those positions in a functioning normal world would offer you truth. They do not anymore. And maybe they never did. Maybe it's naive to think that they ever should. But that is the way society is structured. A a billionaire playboy property developer who has never been one who's been known to be very friendly, we'll call it, very chummy with hard truth. Meaning he'll tell you lies, but he's a salesman. He's a businessman. That's what they do. There's a difference. And I think that's the main reason why so many people can overlook the fact that he'll say things that aren't totally true that are like vanity stuff or about this thing or that thing. The media will then turn those things into great moral failings, and you could make that argument, sure, but you can't make that argument when we have had decades, my entire adult life, my entire life actually, of our government, the bureaucracies, the deep state, the presidency, all the way down the chain and up the ladder, just outright lying to us about things that actually do matter, about things that actually get people killed, about things that actually ruin your life, about things that destroy your children's future. Like, oh, we'll go back to just Obama real quick. One right off the top of my head. He said this on television, I don't even know how many times, with a straight face and a smile. If you like your doctor, you can keep your doctor under Obamacare. Well, that was a bold faced lie. Millions of people lost their doctors and were struggling to find new ones, most of which ended up charging them more money than the doctor they had previously. I know for a fact that happened because it happened to me. Uh, for instance, there we'll go back to we'll go back to old George Herbert Walker Bush. Uh, Multiple times, whether it be the or sorry, we'll do George W first. He's in line first. I got my timeline mixed up there. Uh, Weapons of mass destruction, the infamous WMDs. For instance, there's a great example. Led to the deaths. This lie led to the deaths of millions, probably millions of people. We don't know the exact number. A conservative estimate is 1 million. I would say it's probably closer to 4 or 5 millions of Iraqis and other Middle Easterners dead. Not to mention thousands of Americans. And of course, Afghanistanians also died because we were supposedly looking for Osama bin Laden in Afghanistan. Come to find out that he had been in Pakistan, we knew that, for at least a decade. So, why did we go to Afghanistan again? Oh, that's right, the opium. That's right, we needed those opium. Oops. Uh, that was a lie. We can go back to Clinton, the master of the lies. Uh, we'll start with the most egregious one I would say he did was the signing of NAFTA and the other trade treaties at the time. We were told these will make your life better because imagine having X, Y, and Z product be 20, 30, 40% cheaper than it is today. Well, the lie in that is, yeah, you can get products cheaper. You can go buy an $8 toaster, $10 toaster from Walmart. It'll last a year if you're lucky, maybe two if you're real lucky, and then you just got to go buy a new one. Oh, and it'll suck. It won't do the job as good as the toaster from 35, 40, 50 years ago that was made here in the States or in Canada or whatever with materials that last forever. That's how long they last. For instance, oh, and you'll also, as Ross Perot once famously said on Larry King Live, here's what's going to happen if these become law. You're going to hear a large sucking sound as all the jobs in the Midwest are sucked right out of it and sent to China. And then within 10 years, that's exactly what happened. I live here, trust me, I know, the factories just left. They just shut down and went overseas. They were gone. They don't exist now. All of these things were lies that got us into these situations. And one of the most famous lies of any president of all time, especially the last 30 years or so, was George Bush Sr., where he swore to the American public he would not institute new taxes, he would not raise taxes. He said, read my lips, no new taxes. And then, oops, I got a war to pay for. I need some taxes. And there you go. Drove us right into a Gulf War that we largely did win. I still to this day have no idea why it was our business, but there it is. Reagan had a plethora of lies. I'm sure Carter did. I know he did. In fact, Ford definitely did. The most honest of the terrible presidents was Nixon, and he got set up and screwed. If we're being honest, he wasn't a great man or anything. I don't. There's a lot of weird like fetishization of like the deep right with Nixon because he did certain X, Y, or Z good things, but he did a lot of really bad, stupid shit too, like the drug war. But regardless, Johnson was one of the biggest lying presidents of all time. He drove us right into the biggest catastrophe
Presidents
in.
lie?
Yes. I'm going over the
No.
historical lies that just the presidents have given us in the last, now I'm all the way back apparently to Johnson, since forever. And the reason, the point of this, Chester, of this little exercise is to tell you why so many conservative people, quote unquote, will ignore the fact that Trump tells, lies about certain things. It's because
Well,
we're
he
not expecting
exaggerates.
him. Yeah, we're not expecting him to tell us the whole truth and nothing but the truth. We are expecting him to do his job. That's it.
hmm
We've been being lied to by our executive, just the executive, not only just the executive, but just as an example, the executive, for a very, very, very long time. And the people are sick of it. We're sick of being told that our standard of living has to continuously decrease, and there's nothing anybody can do about it. And then Trump gets in there and does very little governance. And somehow everybody's standard of living got better. Wait a minute. Hold on. I thought this was inevitable. I remember Chester, you probably remember this too. I remember Barack Hussein Obama, Barry Soetoro, that's his real name, saying to the American people, I believe it was on CNN or one of them, in a town hall, that there is no magic wand, nothing I can do will bring those jobs back. That's what he
Uh,
said. Those were his words. That
Trump
that age is over, and we will never have, I can't remember the exact
didn't Trump
terminology,
do
but
that
X,
in
Y,
like
or
in
Z again.
3 months?
Yeah, Trump kind of brought those jobs right back. They kind of came
Yeah.
back real quick. Now, in fairness, not all of them did. He didn't bring back as many as he wanted to. Blah 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 blah. Fine, that's all fine. But my point is, the levels of prosperity that we saw during the Trump years before the pandemic, because as much as lefties want to, you can't blame him for that. He did actually try to shut the country down, or at least shut the borders down, and he was prevented from doing so. I remember it. All the Democrats and many of the Republicans were calling him racist against Chinese people because he didn't want to let people from China in. That monster. He wanted to keep the virus where it was. Um, Regardless, can't really blame him in totally for everything that happened there because I remember America at the time, most people agreed with what he was doing. So if you wouldn't have done anything different, you don't get to criticize him
Mm,
after the fact.
yeah.
And regardless, before that was in my lifetime, I'm almost 40 years old, I'll be 40 this year. In my lifetime, the single greatest economic condition for the American worker I have ever seen. Ever. It
Yeah.
wasn't even close. I was wealthier. I don't make a ton of money, but I'm doing all right. I was wealthier. Everybody in my family was wealthier. And I don't mean like rich, I mean our dollar went farther. The
Oh yeah.
price of gas went down because the dollar went farther.
Well,
We were actually
it's
very close to
yeah.
deflate actual genuine deflation. And I remember when it started to happen and the media was losing its mind. This is bad for everybody. While I can go to the store and buy, you know, some apples or whatever for half the price I could 3 years ago. Who's this bad? Might be bad for the Apple people, but that's their problem.
Yeah,
I
but
want
their
apples.
costs are lower too. So,
Yeah, exactly.
uh, but uh,
Exactly.
but yeah, no, but I'm still on the thing of them comparing him to despots and destructive people because I mean, let's think about it for a second. Has he uh, arrested tons of people and throw them in jail illegally, and done criminal things in that way, as far as detaining people.
No.
Biden has.
Yes.
He's actually released a lot of people from prison, pardoned people, particularly black people. Oddly enough, let's see.
Yep.
Has he bombed Muslim weddings? No.
Well, there was some of that. Yeah, a little bit.
Obama did. That's for sure.
Well, Trump
Uh,
did too, a little bit. There was a little bit of that comparatively, but people will tell you that the bombings act, the drone strikes increased under Trump. Here's the difference: the drone strikes under Trump, they did. The number of them went up, but the targets changed. They didn't hit civilians anywhere near as much while Trump was president. They hit the actual enemy, the actual terrorists and their
Killed some of them
organizations.
too.
Yeah.
Um,
Why do you think ISIS receded so much under Trump? Why
yeah,
do you think that happened? Do you think
but
just oops a daisy?
well, yeah, but I'm still trying to, find a connection to him being the greatest tyrant in history. Let's see. Did he back white supremacists and fund them? No. Biden has.
He
Yeah.
also tried to give black people $500 billion, and it pissed off a bunch of white supremacists. By the way,
Yeah. I don't
so
think.
they
I
called
don't
it
think.
they called it cuck bucks. That's what they were calling
Yeah, I
those.
don't think appropriation. That's not what I want. Um, what do they call that? Giving money to.
Redistribution. Maybe that
Well,
was.
yeah, but no. I'm talking about you give us money because our ancestors were slaves.
Oh, reparations. Yeah.
Reparations, there's the word. I
Well,
had an
that's not
A
what
stuck
it
in my
was
head.
going to totally be. It was mostly going to be like credits and things to help investment in black areas, to increase that and stuff like
That's
that,
fine.
increase education stuff. Like it was
Well,
going to be stuff the government honestly could easily do,
well,
but
yeah,
Democrats don't want to do
of
because they
course
hate
not,
black
because they
people.
want people afraid and poor. That's how
Yeah.
they win. But the thing with it is, though, the real, if you really want to help poor people out there, for urbanites, black urbanites, what you
Yes.
need to do is get rid of crime, and then they'll do just fine.
Yep.
I mean, that's really what you need to deal with. But
And I
they
know you
do the
don't want to
opposite.
hear it, Chester, but the best way to do that is to kill criminals.
Well, yeah, or at least do let the cops do their job. But has Larry figured it out yet?
Well, I had to mute him, unfortunately. Let me unmute him because he had some kind of feedback coming through. So let me unmute him real quick.
Okay,
Let's see.
Larry.
Nope.
Our republic and to evict crooked Joe Biden from the White House so that America
He's watching Trump. I hear Trump.
once again.
Good job, Larry.
The regime censors its critics, spies on its
Yep. That's true.
opposition, takes
That's
away
true.
the bank accounts of U.S. citizens as an
That's
extra
true.
form of
Yep.
punishment, persecutes Christians and patriotic parents,
That's
and
true.
is currently trying to put the leading candidate for president in jail. That happens to be me. While imposing gag order
So
in order
Trump,
to
dude.
keep
It's so
from
Trump.
talking about their crimes.
How can you hate this man? Come on, he's
Yeah.
funny.
Well, it is funny. But the thing that's quite great about Trump is it's kind of easy because his talking points are right there. He doesn't
Yeah,
really
everything he
need to
said is
make
true.
things up. Just say what they're actually doing.
That's right.
He doesn't
Now,
need to do what they have to do.
here's the
It's funny.
ridiculous thing that Democrats, because the Democrats have become everything that when we were younger, especially when I was younger, the '90s, they've become everything that they stood against. They have
Oh yeah,
become they have literally become the Leviathan.
they were the
They have been
party of the
gobbled up by
people,
it.
the party of the union.
Yes,
The
anti-corporate, blah 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 blah. Now
they
they're
are
the
the opposite. Yeah.
100% legalist party. They aren't
Hmm.
even see. People think they're the party of corporations. No, 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 no. They're the party of lawyers. That's what they are.
Yeah.
They're the legalists. That's what they are. If it's
Mm.
law, then that's it. Period.
Yeah.
That's how they behave when it comes to their opponents, especially.
Yeah.
So because they'll say things like, well, if he broke the law, then he should. Shut up. Do you understand how ridiculous
Well,
that
yeah, but
statement
what
is?
law has he broken? Is my point.
Well, even if he did he kill somebody? Did he
Well,
commit
not even.
treason?
We don't even need to go there. What law has he actually broken?
I don't know.
Please, because they've
That's
been
up to them.
searching for it for 8 years and they haven't found it.
Well, not only that, I don't care. I'm gonna tell you the truth. Here's why I don't care. His opponents have done so much evil in the world
Yep.
for the last God knows how long that I don't care about your moralizing about whether or not he broke some logistical legalistic law that largely isn't going to hurt anybody, largely isn't going to affect the world, largely doesn't matter. It just doesn't. It doesn't matter if he took a couple documents from the White House. Who cares? Nobody cares, but the
Well, they
deep
all
state.
do that. That's not illegal anyway. It's not
Exactly, because
illegal.
nobody cares.
Well, no,
Nobody
it's
cares.
literally not illegal though. You have to
Who
understand.
cares if he paid some whore to shut up about having sex with him? Every
Well, and
rich
they
man
do
on the
that
planet does that.
every
All of
day.
them.
Every day.
Yeah.
That happens all the time. But this thing right here, this movie is one of the greatest examples of spite I think you can find.
And it's a
Because
shame that Stan got roped into it, whether he willingly or not. Because I like Sebastian Stan, but I'm good.
yeah,
I'm good.
well, what have you? But this is complete hatchet job. It's an attack. And of course, the people at the Cannes movie festival there, film festival, gave a clap for 8 minutes for something attacking Donald Trump. Of course they did. But it's really disgusting. I mean, particularly the drug thing, because we know how hardcore he is against that stuff. One and two, saying he raped Ivanka. I mean, come on, dude. And the thing is that when they were getting divorced, I'm sure Ivanka was pissed, but they actually they had a fair relationship after that, because
Well, it's funny.
he does have kids with her.
So I think it was Dana White, because him and Dana White have become pretty good friends, and he was on Bill Maher's show actually, because Bill Maher does a podcast and he does his show, and his podcast is basically he just gets stoned and talk to people. Okay, fine. Uh, and he said that he talks to Trump on a fairly regular basis. He'll call him, talk to him, see what's up. And the only time, after with all this stuff that's going on, all of it, even when he was president, the only time he's ever heard him not be okay was when Ivanka died. He loved that woman, whether or not he was a good husband to her or not. He loved that woman.
Of course he did.
And
It's the
for them
mother
to
of his
do
kids,
that
dude.
is intentional. They know what they're doing. They know this that he had this relationship. It's not a mystery. And it's just gross, man. Just
It is gross.
listen.
That's a good point,
If
Alan.
you wanna make a if you want to be the counter to Donald Trump, this is what they did right in 2020. In all fairness, now Biden is a dementia patient, and he couldn't help himself.
The
But
Alzheimer's
the
chief,
narrative that they
commander in
tried
chief.
to set up of him being, cool grandpa or whatever, right? Like he was just a kindly, calm older man
Who
who
sniffs
would
little
who would
kids. Yeah.
who would bring normalcy back and end the chaos and blah blah blah. That was actually brilliant framing because they had done nothing
Sure.
but sow chaos with Trump the entire time he was in there. That was brilliant framing. The reality of it is it's the exact inverse. By all accounts, when it comes to his family, Trump is an absolute sweetheart, and all of his children love him. Not a single one of his children have turned on him. That says a hell of a lot because
Yeah, it does. And
the
they're all
system has been giving
successful
them
and
every out.
square straight.
Yeah,
I mean, it
the
tells you a
system
lot
has been
about them.
giving them every opportunity to
Hmm.
sell their dad out.
Right.
You know they
And
have,
look at
and they're just
Biden.
like, no,
Look at his kids.
yeah,
They're a freaking mess. His
mess.
family's a corrupt mess. I mean, you can just look at the things around them and see where the apple has fallen.
I have said that if I was going to vote for anybody, the only person I would vote for in this election would be Donald Trump, strictly because of the fact that he's a good father. That's it. That's enough. It's just so transparent. You can't take it from him. The only good reason to actually vote for him, in my estimation, if you're going to force yourself to pull the lever, is that because it is a testament to him as a man, not
Yeah.
him as a character, not him as a politician, as a man that you
Yeah.
can't fake. The kids will tell you the truth. If your kids are fucked up, you fucked up.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
Well, I'm looking beyond this because Trump should win in the fall. We'll see what happens, but he should. And I'm sure in his 4 years he'll straighten the economy out and deal with some of the insurgents around the world. I'm sure. What I'm really more concerned about is what comes after Trump because we need a run of proper management. We need a run. We
Yep.
need it. And
Yep.
I know he's not very charismatic or interesting, but that dude down in Florida, he really knows how to manage. He's a good manager.
DeSantis.
DeSantis. He might be a good choice, and they should be happy about that. Isn't he like Cuban or something?
Who knows? I think he's Italian,
I think
actually.
he's Cuban.
Uh,
I thought he was Cuban. But
but
whatever.
no, they don't
He's a
count the Cubans.
non-white, right?
No, they don't count the Cubans anymore because the Cubans vote wrong.
Oh, I
They
see.
vote
They're
like
not. They're
80%
they're whites
Republican.
now. All right, cool.
Yeah, they're traitors. Yeah,
Yeah, I see. All
because
right. Well,
they don't like communism. Funny that they're not a fan of it. I can't
yeah.
imagine. Can't imagine why.
They have a little bit of experience with it.
Yeah,
But anyway, what was this again? Oh yeah, these guys, awesome. I do
let's
have
do
one
Craven.
last little thing to talk about today.
Craven the Hunter producer gives a reason for the movie's delay, and I actually believe it. All right, Sean O'Connell.
Thank
Could you
you,
get a
Sean.
little bit more of a island name, my friend?
Yeah.
What boat did you come across on, Mr.
Yeah.
O'Connell?
Yeah. But he works for Microsoft Start, whatever that is. But I found there were many articles. I just choose this one because I don't know. This is the first one I clicked on. But nevertheless, I want to talk about this story. Now they've delayed it, moved it back to Christmas. This Craven the Hunter. Now we've looked at it, we've talked about it, and my opinion is it's more Sony crap. One,
Yep.
two, he's the bad guy. But of course, the bad guy's got to be the good guy these days. Of course, they've made him the anti-hero. But would you like to know why they've moved it to Christmas? Would you like to know why?
Tell me, elucidate me. If
And
you
and
would.
Sean believes it. He actually believes it. Sean does. Okay, because they said. Karen moved to Christmas because we're excited about it. And Christmas is the best release period there is I do believe that's the
Uh
summer movie season.
huh.
When you get people with time to go back to the movies over and over again, that was a real reflection on how the studio felt about the movie. We're really excited, but that's a great move that reflects just the feeling about the movie. So basically, they moved it to Christmas because people will go to see it over and over again. So their movie is so amazing that they had to
Oh,
put it in a holiday seasons to allow people to go see it enough because otherwise they'd be depriving the world. It would restrict people, you see,
well, I'm
because
sold.
this movie is amazing, you see. And
Yeah,
therefore, they had to retune it to be able to deal with the onslaught of moviegoers they're going to get. Because Craven the Hunter is clearly the best idea you could ever have for a Christmas movie.
that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Did you hear the sarcasm?
I did. Yeah,
Good.
I in fact felt it, and
Yeah,
now I have
good.
hiccups. You gave me
Me too.
hiccups
I
with
gave you
that
hiccups.
sarcasm.
I gave you sarcasm hiccups.
Yep.
But oh goodness, I mean, to be fair, the people who don't know who Craven is, it could be a fun little popcorn film. It could be. I mean, Sony's done it before. I mean, those Venom movies are stupid as shit, but oh no, those are pretty bad though. But people might like to go see them. The Spider-Man was kind of a fun family do, right? That was a good family little flick.
Yep.
So this could be a fun thing. If you know who Craven is, it's just going to piss you off. But whatever, most people don't. It could be fun. But do you imagine the Christmas movie goers, which it's not that big a season for movies. A lot of people are kind of, busy. But do you imagine the Christmas crowd going to see Craven over and over and
No.
over because it just brings that holiday spirit out in them?
Yeah. No. I don't. I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so. I think they're pushing it back somewhere where they can get a lot of excuses.
Yeah.
That's what I think. Covering
Yeah.
their tracks.
Yeah.
Um, and it's a shame too because we've gone at it till we're blue in the face talking about it. That I would love for them to do a proper Craven series. It would have to be, I think, at least 2 films. I would love for them to do it right into the symbiote, right into Venom, the whole thing, the whole run, boom, and you could do it very easily. Actually,
Yep.
the story's right there. Just adapt it to the screen. Um, but they won't. In fact, not only will they not, they refuse to do so. Because
Mhm.
at this point, that's got to be what it is. They could have done it by now 100 times over. They just don't
Well,
want to.
keep in mind that I do believe Sony is the one that made the Furiosa movie, right? And
God,
that bombed
probably.
hard, right? And from looking at the reviews, like Critical Drinker and some of the other ones I watch, they're like, oh well, there's some good things and there's some not good things. Chris Hemsworth seems to be the star of it. Not he's not the star, but he's the standout.
As he
It
does, yeah.
sounds like Chris is having a good old hoot of a time. And when actors are having fun, we usually have fun. So the Chris Hemsworth playing Immortan Joe looks like it's fun, but the girls, the Furiosa stuff is kind of boring. Which did you see the last movie? Charlize Theron, I was so disappointed. She's such a good actress, but she was boring as shit, dude. It was, I mean, sure, there were great car scenes and real practical effects, and all that was great, but you had potential to reboot Max in a way with a really great actor. What's his name
Yep.
again?
The guy who plays Venom, can't
Yeah,
remember his
same
name now.
guy. He's very
Tom Hardy.
capable. Tom Hardy. It's some I've seen him do some shit things like Venom, but I've also seen him do amazing things like the Peaky
Bane.
Blinders. No, Bane was so. But I've seen him do some serious drama, right? So
Yeah,
when
no,
I
he's a good
heard
actor.
he was doing Max, I was like, all right, okay. I think you should have just brought Mel back, but whatever.
Well, the apparently Furiosa, the script for it or whatever, the concept was written for Mel, like 2 decades before it came out, or a decade and a half before it came out. Because it was supposed, the idea was it was supposed to be an older Max doing all this stuff, not just Max doing all this stuff. And yeah, obviously that didn't happen because something Mel Gibson doesn't like Jewish people. I don't
Right.
know. And so he couldn't have the role anymore, even though he's the only reason it was iconic.
Hmm. Although
And
I do believe
they
the
went with
quote
Levin.
was the effing Jews that run Hollywood.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. He
Okay.
also said something about we'll call them black people.
Hmm.
He didn't like them, but he was
Well,
also
no, no.
lit.
Let's be accurate here. He didn't like the idea of a team of black basketball men running a train on his daughter.
Yes,
Let's
that's
be
correct.
fair. He used the N word. Yes, he did. But
Yeah,
and I don't know the context. But if I found out that a group of people were trying to run a train, or were talking about a train, or the idea of a train on my daughter, there'd be some dead motherfuckers.
yeah, yeah. That's where people end, right there. That's where it ends.
Yeah,
Um,
that's the
and the
end of
worst
that
part about
conversation. And excuse me if I use a few expletives.
the worst part with Mel is one of those guys who is sincere in his faith, devout Catholic, but he actually lives it. I've seen multiple videos of him. He lives in Costa Rica, I believe, of
He's a
him just
solid dude.
help,
Mel
just
Gibson's a
helping
solid
people.
dude.
Yeah, just stopping on the side of the road, changing tires for people, stuff like that. And he doesn't have to do any of that shit, but he just does it because he actually believes his faith. Hence why
Yeah.
he made the Passion of the Christ.
Well, yeah, that's
Uh,
true, and he's going to make the follow up here, which is going to be the
yeah,
arising. But now I haven't researched it. I'd have to go back and research and see exactly what was said. But honestly, I don't really care. But you're right. But the Tom Hardy though, having him come in and do Max, I was like, okay, they could be fun. Now you could have another character there, sure, why not? We've always had other characters in Mad Max movies.
sure.
But I mean, Tina Turner was great in it, right?
Yeah.
But we didn't get Max at all. He's just
No,
a side
it's a
character on the
cameo.
wall. It's a
Yeah.
cameo.
It the
And
only
okay,
cool thing he does in the whole movie is off screen. Which is a cool scene, by the way, but that's all he gets.
yeah, no,
That's
that's
all he
right.
gets.
They don't even give him a scene of him doing cool shit. And
Yeah.
like I said, Charlize Theron, I was like, okay, because she is a good actress. I know she's
Yes.
intolerable. I get that, but she is
Yes.
also a very good actress, straight up, right?
Correct.
But she was horrible. It was boring. So,
The best I've
why
said
would
this
you
for
continue
years.
this character that is boring? And then, of course, they get Anna Taylor Joy Green or whatever the hell her name is. She's boring actress too, and she
Yeah.
looks like a freaking alien.
Well, in the right roles, she's really good.
Right?
Uh,
If she's playing a boring character, she's very good at it.
no, isn't she the one in Northman, the chick, the
Yeah, and
girl?
she's boring as shit, and that's what she's supposed to
Yeah,
be,
but
and it works.
yes. But regardless of all that, the in Fury Road, the reality of it is the only reason that movie's so popular, the two main reasons, is the practical effects, the fact
Which
that they
are
actually
great.
did all that
Which
shit,
are
which
great.
are
Yeah.
phenomenal, and the guy screaming "Witness me," because it's memeable and it's memorable, which is all memeable actually means. And it was such an interesting, like, they really dove into this concept of, post-apocalyptic, and these people are just complete fanatics.
Hmm.
It was just they nailed that stuff. They
Yeah.
nailed all of the little bits, side bits, all of that stuff. And it's a shame that they did all of that and then sacrificed Max basically because he didn't get hardly any screen time, and the
Right.
screen time he did get was either just to elevate her
Yeah.
or
He was just there for her. Yeah.
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 And it's a shame because
And then the
Mad
new
Max is
movie.
such an iconic
It
character.
it is, and I really want a Max movie. And quit putting Mad Max on it. Just call it Furiosa. And in
Yep.
this new movie, of course, we don't have Max at all, although his name's on the movie.
Yes.
Even Critical Drinker is like us, but I think it was Stuckman. I think it was Stuckman who I watched, and he's way more softer. I wouldn't call him woke,
Right.
but he's more leaning that direction. And even he had the same opinion. The Thor guy, what's his name?
Hemsworth.
Hemsworth. Chris Hemsworth was having a ball. He was great. But Taylor, whatever the frickin' the alien this name is, um, she's just boring. Even he said that. So
Yeah.
it's just, nonsense. So Sony's got, pretty sure it's Sony. There's a bomb. It's bombed. It's not making money. That's going to be another hundreds of millions of dollars lost. And here's this one that they're saying people are just going to watch it over and over. So we put it on Christmas because people really go see movies at Christmas. Really, really,
Uh-huh.
really.
Now, in fairness, sometimes they do.
Yeah.
Titanic, the Avatar movies,
Avatar,
certain movies,
Gremlins.
some of the Harry Potter movies.
Yeah. But this is not a tentpole movie, dude.
No.
It is not. And like I said, if you don't know who Craven is, and they have this anti-hero, handsome man, he's a good-looking man, doing actiony stuff and being cool, it could hit as a popcorn film. It could. I hope it does. I mean, honestly, it's not like I don't want these companies to make money. So it could actually hit. But I still don't understand why people don't get the character though. His name is literally Craven.
That's right.
Do people not speak English anymore?
They don't.
Do they not
Large
know what the
majority
word craven means? Now, of course, it's spelled with a K instead of a C because, Stan Lee. But because that's whimsy, you see.
don't.
But craven is craven, meaning he is craven, which, just so you know, dear viewers, craven is bad.
Yeah, you don't want to be Craven.
Yes.
Don't want to be Craven.
He could have, we could have called him Excelsior the Hunter, and that would maybe be a good guy. But Craven the Hunter,
That is surprising that of all the characters Stan made, at least I don't think he ever made an Excelsior.
isn't
When
that
it was like
weird?
his
I would have
catchphrase.
expected as
Yeah.
an Excelsior, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, one of
That's a
his
great
favorite. It
name.
is a
Yeah.
great word,
Yeah. It does. It does. And he's right. It's elevation. It elevates you immediately. You say Excelsior, like it raises your entire inflection. It's amazing. It's a great word.
It does. And he was smart to use it. Now, here's the thing I'll say, Ethereal Dragon. In this case, Furiosa, giving a title and a name in a post-apocalyptic world where people would be given a lot of nicknames and titles and stuff because of the brokenness of the world, could be a proper name. However, I never understood in the Chronicles of Riddick why he's a Furian, because that's just dumb.
Listen, it's because what's his name? Vin Diesel wrote it. So that's it. That's
All
your
right,
answer.
well, that explains everything then.
And I like Vin. I do. I think Vin's a
That's
pretty
here.
decent guy. He's a nerd. He's a gamer.
I liked his Bloodshot. The thing he did
Yeah,
recently. That was
Bloodshot
kind of
was
fun.
good.
Yeah.
That was fun. He made, because remember when that Chronicles Riddick came out, there was a game that came out with it too. Escape from Butcher Bay, I think it was called, and it was pretty good. Nice little stealth action game. And he oversaw that. He actually, was in charge. I don't know if he was in charge, but he was involved heavily in the creation of that. So yeah, he's a nerd. He's one of us. He's just
Yeah.
a big muscly one. That's all.
Yeah, no. There's a few of them. Vin's definitely a nerd like us, just like Henry.
Yeah.
But and the reason why Craven was called this, and of course Ethereal has point out the meaning of Craven meaning cowardly, is because when he found himself in a superior position, he would take advantage of it. But when he was in a position of weakness, he would cowardly run away or blame others and stuff because he's a villain. And
Right.
the way in the Hunt, where with Spider-Man's one of the best Spider-Man runs of all time, by the way. Also has the basic kind of introduction of the symbiote, which became Venom, right? It's a great run. But in the end of that, Craven kills himself, right? Showing his cowardliness, because suicide, as awful as it might be, is a cowardly act, right? And thus he is Craven. But somehow they're going to take this guy and make him heroic, even though his name is Craven. I just would love to be in these writing rooms and just kind of watch the stupidity drip out.
Out of their ears?
Yeah.
Jester, I did have one thing that I didn't know if you've seen it or not, but I put it in the chat here. If you want to pull it up. I think we can end on it real quick. It's just so Microsoft Game Studios, and I was hoping our boy Ben would be around so I could
Yeah,
lambaste him about
something that
this.
fails all the time every time they try it. Yeah, that. Yeah.
Yeah, what they've been doing lately in the last few years is they keep buying up studios, and then for whatever reason, the games never come out.
Yeah.
They just don't. And people keep asking, what is the strategy? Like, buy studio, don't release game. And I basically was joking. I'm like, well, the strategy is fuck you. That's why. That's the strategy.
It
Um,
might be. Yeah.
but apparently, there's rumors going around. I don't know if you see it here, but there's rumors going around that Microsoft is readying a $16 billion bid to buy Valve in Steam.
Oh, no, 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 no,
Yeah,
no.
yeah,
No,
yeah,
no, 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 no,
yeah.
no.
Exactly.
That would be
If that
very
happens,
bad.
it's over. It's done. Gaming will literally, as we know it, will die probably forever. Microsoft will
Wow,
kill it.
that's a bad, bad thing, dude.
So hopefully, old Gabe, our Lord and Savior of video games, Gabe, does not even entertain this
He
idea.
doesn't need the money, Gabe. What are you doing,
Exactly.
Gabe?
He doesn't need the money.
You are a
So
rich
hopefully
dude.
he doesn't need and he's one of the only people who is in the industry at that level that's standing against nonsense, right? Steam is very anti-censorship. They'll do it here and there for certain things,
Yeah,
but they're
well, if
very
you there is
anti-censorship.
a line. Let's be fair.
Yes, and they try very hard to be as fair as possible to their user. It's one of the it has. There's very little to complain about when it comes to Steam. They do most things right. They
Yep.
get most of the
They
stuff
got
right,
great customer service too.
and the reason they do is because they're not a publicly traded company. That's just the truth of it. They've never
Yeah,
gone
no,
public.
and there's no
They
need.
don't need to.
Why
Yeah, they've
does
got more than enough money.
Yeah,
Uh,
if you got money, what do you need to go public for? I mean, to go on the
so
stock
that's
exchange
the
is if you're
problem.
looking for money. If you have money,
Yes,
you don't need to do that.
to acquire more capital, but they don't
Yeah,
need it. They're good. That's the problem, though, is because theoretically they could just straight sell Microsoft. There's not much that could stop them unless the government said, "Hey, that's too much." Uh, Hopefully, this rumor never pans out. Nobody needs to own Steam, period. Especially Steam. Whether or not Valve, the company, that part of it gets bought off, Steam itself somehow needs to stay. It's what it is now. Too many changes to it will kill it. It's an ecosystem all to itself, and the only thing that's kept gaming where it's been, besides certain mega releases like GTA 5 or whatever, is Steam. The fact that we haven't had a genuine gaming bust, even though we kind of have, is Steam. The fact that we've had an alternative means of getting all sorts of small time, what would have been back in the day, trash shovelware, as we called it,
yeah,
that's gone by and large, except on Steam. Because you can still find really cheaply made games that are just fun for a little while, right? Just a good time.
sure.
And that's great. That's what we
Well,
should
it's
want. We should
called,
want these to happen.
it's a shocking thing. It's called free market.
Yeah.
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 Can you do
We
me a
do not
favor?
need anybody controlling Steam. What's
Can
that?
we see? I'm curious. What is Larry up to? Let's unmute
Let's
him
see.
for
Is
a
he still
second.
watching Trump? Let's see. Oh, he's quiet. Is he there?
It's
Oh.
faster, bro. 8 times faster than Flonase.
It's faster, bro.
Now he's watching Flonase commercials.
Oh.
Ask the pro.
What's Flonase? What is that?
Flonase is something you squirt up your nose to unblock it
Oh,
effectively. Yeah,
that's useful.
it's nasal spray.
That's
Yeah,
useful.
I have some in my house actually.
Yeah.
I
You know what that
use
means?
it.
Look out.
Never had that problem.
Let's welcome tonight's guest. He still has an Adam 12 lunchbox. Fox News contributor.
Dude, Adam 12 was rocking, man. That was great. I love Adam
That's
12.
true. It sounds like he's watching Fox News.
Now, is Larry trolling us, you think?
I don't think so, because he hasn't said anything. I think he accidentally hit the button to come in here, and that's really all that happened. He was on his phone, probably looking at Discord, and he just booped it and didn't realize it. That's what I
Maybe.
think happened, but I don't know, because I'm
That's
pretty sure when you bump the button on your phone, you have to confirm it. At least I do. So I don't know.
What's
I
that?
don't
That's all right. I
know.
like Larry. He's funny.
He can still hear us. So if he hears everything we're saying.
I don't know.
He
It
just
sounded like he couldn't hear us, but that's all right. We love you, Larry. We love you. And he's
but no,
not a cable
Microsoft.
guy. He's an anime artist, just so you know.
That's true. Microsoft getting their hooks, their filthy little wretched hooks
That would be bad.
into Steam would be honestly. I don't think the industry recovers from that for a while.
No, because they would
Uh,
censor everything instantly.
oh, instantly. It would be instant
The
censorship. They'd shut
prices would
everything
go up.
down. Everything would go up in
Yeah,
price. You'd lose all your sales because one of the coolest things Steam does is they do the big sales
sure.
where you can get a lot of games for real cheap.
And they're making
Uh,
money, and the companies are making money. Everyone's
yes,
happy.
everybody's winning. Everybody's winning. And one of the main reasons why, I mean, piracy still happens, but I don't think it's as big of a subculture as it used to be, is because of Steam, because of services like Steam. GOG is another one. Uh, but services like that, where you can get these games for very cheap or much cheaper by and large.
Yeah.
And it's just all on one platform. It's easy to use. The idea that anyone, Microsoft, Sony, anybody, Apple, anyone can get their hooks into Steam is a terrible, terrible, terrible idea. And I
Yeah.
really hope that our boy Gabe has some form of scenario for after he's gone, after he retires or he unfortunately passes because he's getting older. Hopefully he has something in place to make sure that that doesn't ever happen, or at least
Yeah.
makes it very difficult to happen.
Well, it's inevitable. But when we talk about Microsoft and gaming, or just software in general, um, you know, you would imagine Microsoft would be king of certain things because it's
Yeah,
Microsoft,
that's right.
the creator of Windows, right? But their track record with gaming over decades is really bad. They have failed so much over the decades trying to do video games that I don't even know why they bother. And when it comes to even, trying to produce hardware, they have failed so badly. Now, true, the majority of computers on the planet have their Windows software, their OS inside. True. But the only real device they've had any kind of success with is Surface. And it's taken, what, a decade to get to a point where people are actually paying attention to it,
Hmm,
right? And the fact that they just didn't give up on it, right?
right.
So they
Well,
just
did you
don't
see the
have
other
a very
thing that
good.
the CEO of Microsoft just recently said?
No.
That in Windows 11, they're planning on an update where it will quite literally constantly record your screen. Whatever you're doing, 100% full, endless surveillance
Why?
of what. Who knows? I'm sure the reason they're going to try and sell it is security. Uh huh. No, I'm good. Thank you. I
Oh,
will
that's
not
got to
be
get
upgrading.
modded quickly. Well, I'm not upgrading
Oh,
anyway. I'm
absolutely.
on 10
No.
and I'll go
Yeah, I'll
anywhere.
stay right where I'm at, kicking and screaming. And if I have to, I will go and get a Linux system, and
You
that'll be
could,
it.
you know. But yeah, I don't know why but there's a lot of stuff like that. Facebook's been under scrutiny for spying on people and selling data to the Chinese government a few years back, right?
Yep. Well,
Amazon has done it.
They were selling it to both Republican and Democrat political campaigns. Microsoft was, or Facebook was.
Facebook,
And we're
yeah.
like, wait a minute, what are you doing? Wait a minute, we didn't sign up
Well,
for
you got to
this.
think about how are they making money? How do they
Yep.
make money on these SNS services? Think about it, right? It's advertisement, guys, and selling your data for advertisement. Now, of course, for political control and governmental stuff. But then again, if you live in Canada with them, the bills they're trying to pass up there, pretty much they'll have the right to arrest anyone in the country
Yep.
at
For
any
any
time they
reason they
like.
deem. Yeah, no,
So
Canada needs a revolution. Point blank. Period.
it is bad.
Don't call for violence now. At this point, I mean, what? At this point, somebody's got to die. I'm just gonna say it. Somebody's got to go. Like
Yeah.
Canada's out of control. America's not much better, but at least we're not quite as bad as Canada
Well,
yet.
don't try to be a
Uh,
Christian in Canada.
yeah, no,
That ain't a
there
good place.
was what was it, 80 churches that were burnt down,
Yeah.
or set fire to,
Yeah.
because of a lie, a
Oh, and
bold-faced
then of
lie that
course
the
arresting
Christians were
preachers
genociding.
and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Yeah. We've had that down in Australia. And I love their response when people were showing that video of that Australian priest getting attacked. You had the yelling at Elon saying, "You've got to take this down." It's like, well, first of all, you don't control that company. He's not
Yeah.
based in your country. One, two. What are they trying to ban viewing of it for? Because they said that we don't want to have anti-Islamophobia. It's like, so you would rather have the Muslims just freely keep murdering people?
Yes, they would. See, I've come to the conclusion it's not just incompetence, it's malice. They know what they're doing. They're doing it on purpose. They hate you. They hate the fact that the West is the West, and they hate
Good
everything
one, now.
about Western excellence. So they're going to bring in things that cause you misery. That's it. It's spite, Chester. The word of the day.
Yeah.
That's all it is. It's
Yeah.
not about. I mean, tangentially, yeah, it's great they can do things and get control. They can get power. They can do all. That's all wonderful. But the motivation, the
Yeah.
main motivation, is misery. They want you to suffer.
They do.
That's it.
That's it.
That's it.
Well, anyway, guys, that was fun.
Fun times.
Fun times. But word of the day, spite. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of it. We've been saying it for years here. Years. And I remember when I first started saying that, a lot of people pushed back against me, huh?
Oh yeah, they still do. They'll
They
still
still
say things
do.
like they're just trying to make money. Okay. Well,
No.
they're not making money, and you're
No.
still doing it.
It's spite.
So
And now we're starting to get the evidence because they're coming out and saying it. That's how
well,
emboldened they feel.
they've cannibalized everything. They've gotten it all. There's no franchise they haven't bastardized of any actual mainstream merit. So the only reason they were making any money doing it before is because they were doing it on the back of long established franchises and brands.
Yep.
Like, last year that Barbie movie came out and it had a bunch of nonsense in it. But it
Oh, a
was a
lot.
Barbie movie. That's why it made money. Women didn't care. They wanted to watch a Barbie movie. That's it. So they went and watched a Barbie movie. But they're out of. I mean, they're by and large they're out of stuff to do that to now. They've run through it. Just like the famous Margaret Thatcher quote: "Socialism's fine until you run out of other people's money." Right? Then it's a problem.
Then it's
And
a
it's the
problem.
same thing
Well-
culturally. Cultural capital. They've run out of cultural capital.
They have.
They're done.
That's true. Now, Roger has asked a question, and it'll be the last one for today, and then Thondero's going to take us out of here. And then once again, he asked, what's the situation in Taiwan? There is no situation in Taiwan. I told you China will do nothing. And matter of fact, one of the best memes in the history of memeology came out of Taiwan last week. And I suggest you go look it up, but it's the most amazing thing. It has this giant panda, all angry and enraged, standing over a map of China, looking toward Taiwan, swinging missiles and jet fighters. And on Taiwan, you see the cute ass of a lounging smaller bear. Then the next side of the meme shows that bear just sitting there sipping a drink. And this is the general feeling of Taiwan. China is always making noise and they do nothing about it. And the Taiwanese don't care. Because they know that China is a toothless dragon.
Toothless dragon.
Okay, I'm done.
He's done. He's got nothing more to say. Hang on, Jess. I'm trying to find one. Now,
Okay.
where is it? I had it in here in my Discord because I have my own little private Discord where I write down some ideas.
Well,
and now I can't find it.
with China also, you got to understand there are massive protests happening all across the country every single solitary day. They're trying to hide it, but things are getting out of control. People are openly in the street now calling for the resignation of Xi Jinping, as well as the removal of the CCP every day.
Yep.
And it's getting out of control because those people are pissed. The CCP has completely mucked it all up, as communist governments do. And I imagine you're going to see some pretty serious changes coming in China soon.
Well, that's what a lot of the so-called futurists, as they call themselves, people who get paid to quite literally just predict the future,
Yeah.
have said that the CCP isn't long for this deck. Isn't long.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
They're just going to collapse, like all communists do, right around that 100-year mark, give or take. Give or take about 20, 30 years. That's about
Yeah,
the length.
they can't maintain. Yeah.
Yeah, it can't keep itself going for too long. Oh, well, Jester, I'm going to go with this one. Where to go? I'm going to do two today, two quick ones, and they have the same theme. What good is an oath if the innocent suffer? That's
Ooh.
one. It's a good one. I think it's a good one. I like it. Now, where's the other one at? Hang on. I just seen it. It's a very similar theme, and it goes like this: commit to the purpose of your principles, not their rhetoric.
Ooh. Namaste. Very nice. Later, everybody.